Hello everybody and welcome to the 18th and final race of the 2004 AI F1 Challenge season. We are here at the Grande Premio do Brasil at the Autodromo José Carlos Pache for the Brazilian Grand Prix. For the first time in its history, hosts the season finale. Today I am here, once again, with Nils Hartl. And we are to bring you today the champion of 2004. It's down to 2 in the title race. 71 laps and an hour in the qualifying session will decide who will be this season's champion. Now, going into this race, Kimi Raikkonen, he well and truly has the championship in his grasp going into this round. He leads by 8 points over teammate Michael Schumacher. But the sticking part is for Raikkonen is that he's yet to win a Grand Prix this season. If countback come down to it, where, for example, if Michael Schumacher won and Raikkonen was 7th, or Michael Schumacher was 2nd and Raikkonen was out of the points, then Schumacher would take the title, as he would have at least either 7 or 8 more races.
To interrupt you.
Oh, yeah, I got it. Yeah. It's because I did that for something else the other day. But yeah, Nils is here. I just accidentally had him muted on the stream. But yes, so Michael Schumacher would take it on more victories, so that will be something to look out for. Fernando Alonso, now out the championship picture after retiring late on in the Japanese Grand Prix. He'll be looking to try and get 2nd in the championship, although not really all that much up for stake for any Renault driver. Of course, Pantano is injured. Trulli and Montoya will aim to try and get past him before the end of the season. As further back, we have got Riccardo Speraffico completing the top 10. Ralph Furman, just a couple points back. He'll be hoping to try and get himself a, 6th place would potentially do it for him. No, actually, because Speraffico has a 2nd place. So it needs to be 5th place for Furman to take the top 10 in the Drivers' Championship. As further back, we have got the rest of the point scorers. Justin Wilson in 28th on that list. Meanwhile, in the Constructors' Championship, it's 1 for McLaren. They are confirmed as your Constructors' Champions for 2004, as they are 21 points clear of Renault, with 18 points only on offer for the French team to try and catch up, which means very clearly they'll only get as close as within 3 points. Ferrari are also confirmed to finish in 3rd, as Williams have the ever so slight... No, they are confirmed 4th as well. So the top 4 is already confirmed, but the battle for 5th will most certainly be on, as well as the battle for 7th, as we have had 13 teams so far scoring points. And in the practice standings, never mind Alex Young, at the top of the timing sheets, Jarno Trulli once again. We've seen him a lot of the time this season topping the practice. He was just under 3/10 actually ahead of Kimi Raikkonen, so quite a big gap considering the short length of this circuit. Raikkonen was 2nd though, ahead of teammate Michael Schumacher. Narain Karthikeyan put in a solid performance for the Dams Lola Panels team. More on him in a second, as his teammate Ralph Furman was down in 10th position. Barrichello will be hoping for an home victory today, although poor form for him is probably going to have Felipe Massa potentially as a higher chance of winning this race rather than Rubens Barrichello, in all fairness. His seat though was taken by Vitantonio Liozzi, who put in a strong performance in practice and was setting the 12th fastest time ahead of Mark Webber there down in 19th. Premat also in the Renault. Clean making his debut for the Brabham team today, as 28 drivers, only 28 drivers, took part in the practice. And with the rest of the grid now being confirmed throughout the week through the news, the final 3 seats were confirmed of Ralph Furman going to Toyota for 2005, as well as the Red Bull lineup being David Coulthard and Vitantonio Liozzi. We'll go more into depth as the stream goes on. But without further ado then, let's head into the final. Oh my god, my face is there. Hi. That's not supposed to be there. The final round of the session. There we go. So how is everybody doing today? We've got 21 people here already. Damn, a lot of people. Horizon is here, as well as Jeffrey, Gallifreyan, Jake, Dashi, Zavesh, Teague, Galactic Stag, Jeffrey, Kiyokiri, FF, and Joycey as well as everyone else who is joining us today on the final round of the season as Jean-Christophe Bouillon with the first one out there on circuit in the Renault.
I've mentioned something interesting for the championship fight as well, with him having grip penalties heading into this race.
Ah, yes, there is indeed. There are 2 grid penalties, thanks for reminding me, going into this race. Toyota have overused their allocation of engines for the whole of the 2004 season. So going into this round, it was just Teranosuke Takagi who was going to incur a 5-place grid penalty. But because Riccardo Sperafico also blew up his engine during practice, both Toyota drivers will have the same penalty of 5 places on the grid. So expect the Toyotas to be out of position as Thiago Monteiro also out there on circuit. We'll actually start with the news about Minardi as they are here for their final ever Grand Prix in Formula 1. Let me grab the news article. It's somewhere. Here we go. So the sentimental moment of the day belonged to Minardi in the practice session. The Italian Minnows unveiled a special one-off livery entitled Andata, designed by local Italian artists to commemorate the team's final Grand Prix weekend. With Minardi set to leave Formula 1 at season's end, this striking design served as a fitting tribute to one of the sport's most beloved underdog teams. As we've got Jean-Christophe Bouillon out there on circuit, he's setting a purple first sector as of right now, as we'll go through the other parts as well. So, driver transfers going into this race. The crash that Felipe Massa had with Nicolas Manassian and Scott Dixon has meant that the New Zealander and the Frenchman are both out of contention, which means that Narain Karthikeyan is in the seat at Dams, and it is also Tom Coronel returning to the seat at BAR. As Jean-Christophe Bouillon is making his way around to complete the first lap of the day. The benchmark will probably be somewhere between 112 and 116 we are expecting. It'll be a 115.4 for the Frenchman. Ralf Schumacher and Thiago Monteiro currently on track right now. So yeah, a fractured knuckle it was for Nicolas Manassian, and for the New Zealander, it was a shoulder contusion. So both of those drivers are out, and that could potentially be the final ever race for Scott Dixon, as he is not confirmed, or is confirmed not to be on the 2005 grid. Another driver transfer going into this race, Christian Klein drafted in as early Brabham replacement for Pitsonia. Brabham have made a surprise driver change ahead of the season-ending Brazilian Grand Prix, confirming that Christian Klein will replace Antonio Pitsonia for the final round of the 2004 season, while Klein was already expected to join the team full-time in 2005 as the team moved into the Austrian name. It was brought forward by a single race. Pitsonia's campaign has been a frustrating one, scoring only 1 of 7 points for Brabham this season, but the move also raises questions about Pitsonia's future, with all of the seats in 2005 now already filled and several younger drivers entering Formula 1. Opportunities are becoming increasingly scarce. Unless a late opening emerges somewhere else on the grid, Interlagos may prove to be the Brazilian's final Formula 1 weekend. Actually, no, it should be Suzuka as his final ever Grand Prix. What are your thoughts on, do you think Pitsonia will ever get back into Formula 1? Of course, you were the one who sacked him.
I hope not. He should go anywhere else but the F1 seat, because he's a danger to the public. He's a danger to any F1 team because their budget. Literally should go to kart, get the payday there. Anyway, Montoya's going quickest.
He is indeed. He's making his way up towards the line, and he goes 4/10 faster than the French Renault driver of Jean-Christophe Bouillon with a 15.0. Cristiano Damata also out there on circuit right now in the Jaguar, as is Narain Karthikeyan in the Dams, making his race weekend debut for the first time since the 2000 Portuguese Grand Prix. The second race starts that he will have in this series. Obviously driving for Arrows back in 4 years ago, actually. That's a long time. So yeah, Christian Klein in, Coronel in at BAR. Ralph Furman secures Toyota drive for 2005 as Fisichella steps aside. Toyota confirmed the signing of Ralph Furman for 2005 with the Irishman set to partner Riccardo Sperrifico in an all-new lineup for the Japanese manufacturer. Or all-new driver, I should say, for the Japanese manufacturer. The move rewards Furman for what has been a standout campaign of 2004. Despite Dams operating in the midfield, the 29-year-old has consistently extracted strong results from the Lola chassis, scoring the majority of the team's points and regularly outperforming teammate Nicolas Minassian in qualifying. Many within the paddock were surprised when Dams elected to replace Furman with Patrick Friesacker for 2005 as a part of their BMW-backed project. But Furman's performances have certainly landed him at arguably a better place on the grid. His previous success in Japan has also made him an attractive option for Toyota, as Furman already claimed the 2002 Formula Nippon Championship and already has extensive experience working within Japanese motorsport. So do you think this is a solid move then for Ralph Furman as Karthikeyan goes fourth fastest?
I mean, I was quite vocal about Dams preferring to sign Minassian on and Friesacker instead of Ralph Furman, and was quite on the forefront as well to say that Furman should get the Toyota seat after Fisichella's heavy incident, as Raikkonen is not matching Montoya through the first sector. So it's definitely a step up for him, considering Toyota made the step up into the right direction as well. Therefore, I feel like Furman is definitely a right choice next to Riccardo Sperrifico, who impressed massively also in his full first season.
Obviously, Nils was talking about Giancarlo Fisichella. He has taken a sabbatical for 2005. He will confirm to not be racing in 2005 and aim for a full-time Formula 1 seat for 2006. Do you think there's any way back for him in the world of Formula 1? He is obviously now well into his 30s, 32 or 33, by the time we reach the end of 2005. Do you think any teams will pick him up?
Really depends if he brings funds to any team. Also, if it's a smaller operation that wants a decent pair of hands, as Raikkonen goes to provisional pole. But I don't see him going into any higher midfield operation or even a top team at his stage now with those two massive incidents and obviously having then a year completely off from racing.
David Coulthard here in his final race for BAR before he moves to Red Bull. He is confirmed as a Red Bull driver alongside Vitantonio Liozzi. It's a fantastic lap from the Scotsman as the 2000 world champion is capable of taking himself to pole position by 0.2 of a second, as here we see the other Minardi, making his way out on circuit. Mark Webber will be confirmed as this being his last race for the foreseeable future, as he is kicked out of the Red Bull team, as we'll go through that now. Red Bull have confirmed a completely new driver lineup for the 2005 Formula 1 season, signing David Coulthard and Vitantonio Liozzi as the team prepares for the next phase of its ambitious Red Bull Lamborghini project. The announcement sees Coulthard depart BAR after 3 seasons with the team, while his spell with the squad yielded only 3 podium finishes. Many within the paddock have expressed surprise at the Scots departure given his strong 2004 campaign. Coulthard has been responsible for all but 4 of BAR's points this season and has remained one of the grid's most consistent performances despite the team's struggles in the constructors' standings. For Red Bull, however, Coulthard's signing is more about results, more than results alone. The 33-year-old brings a wealth of experience from the grid and is expected to play a key role in developing the team as it looks to establish itself as a serious midfield contender. So Red Bull have also been cleared to race for this Grand Prix. However, A separate team has not shown up, as you'll clearly see. There's only 28 cars on the grid. Purple final sector there for Mark Webber as he goes up to 4th on the grid. His replacement, though, has been announced as Vitantonio Liuzzi, who finished runner-up in this year's GP2 series. With his outright speed and aggressive racecraft, although inconsistent, he'll be seen as kind of a rough diamond at the Austrian outfit and probably be taken under Coulthard's wing as he looks to begin his first full season in Formula 1. Do you think that Webber kind of being thrown out to the side like this is a bit unjust from Red Bull?
Not really, when you have the opportunity to sign a former world champion who could lead the team in a brighter future, especially with one of the more exciting young talents instead of Rosso goes 7 fastest with the fastest last sector. But I feel like the driver pairing of Coulthard and Liuzzi is more capable of impressing people than the driver pairing of Coulthard and Webber. Webber's a decent midfield driver, but nothing more. And Liuzzi could be shaped into a potential race winner at Red Bull if they play their cards right.
So Rose Toyota as well have been struggling for funds as of late. They have found themselves seemingly in quite a bit of debt, and there is rumours of a potential buyout for 2005 with the team. And the concern of the Rose Toyota squad has remained here in Interlagos as they have failed to show up amid mounting financial concerns and uncertainty surrounding the team's future. The American outfit has elected not to participate this weekend, reducing the field to just 28 drivers and adding further weight to fears that the team may not survive into 2005 if a buyout is not found. Do you think someone will be able to find a way to keep the team on the grid for 2005?
Maybe turn it into the junior team for Ferrari or someone like that, possibly, but I don't see many buyers currently looking at the team and wanting to buy it out because of the mounting debts and the struggles the team has, considering their current situation as Villeneuve goes 8 fastest. So I don't see them on the grid next season, though.
Thiago Montero's gone 9th fastest. Unfortunately, though, for Felipe Massa, he was purple in the first sector, but has seemingly been held up quite considerably by Alex Young in the other Minardi. So yeah, I've not been keeping up with the chat, so let me try and figure out. If Torunosuke Takagi gets more points, does he deserve a possible drive for 2005, or is he reserved? Probably will find his way as a reserve driver, of course. It's only been a short stint for Torunosuke Takagi, even though he has impressed. I imagine that the small sample size is probably not going to be interesting drivers all too much. Doesn't Michael have a grid drop for... Yes, he does. Thank you for reminding me. Yeah, Michael...
I said that earlier as well.
Yeah.
That's why you went about the grid penalties for the Toyotas.
Yeah, so Michael Schumacher is a 3-place grid drop going into this race, which will make his challenge of winning this record-breaking 6th World Championship even more difficult. Antonio Pizzonia to open new fast food restaurant called Pizzonia Hut. Amazing stuff, Pioneer. And yeah, that is pretty much everything that's been caught up with. I think so.
Yeah, spare funds.
Yeah, so that's D'Amata actually on his second run, going up to 2nd fastest. So a brilliant lap there from the Brazilian driver. Obviously his home Grand Prix. Probably could be his last Grand Prix in Formula 1, as he is confirmed to not be on the grid for 2005, sorry. Torunosuke Takagi, we were just talking about him. I reckon he'll probably find his way as a Toyota test and reserve driver for 2005. Obviously, James Courtney has also been signed to the team. They're undecided on whether he should be a test and reserve driver or just in their testing fall. But obviously, if there is a driver such as Torunosuke Takagi that comes up in their ranks, then there could be an option for him to return to the Formula 1 circus. Of course, for the most part of 2004 has been out of action and in IndyCar, as he goes 8th fastest with his next lap. Montoya, though, on an absolute flyer in the Williams BMW. This is also change for not only Juan Pablo Montoya, who will move to BAR at the season's end, but also for Williams, who will move over from BMW to Honda engines, branded as HP Invent, for the following season. And he goes into the 1 minute 13s with that one, a 1:13.4, and he goes to pole position by well over a second ahead of David Coulthard. So I imagine the times will continue to drop as the session goes on, as Ralf Schumacher looks to potentially find his way maybe into the top three. Kimi Raikkonen, though, is purple through the first sector. Michael Schumacher has finally gone out there on circuit as we head 15 minutes into this qualifying session. Ralf Schumacher on the front row of the grid, as Raikkonen has got a little bit of traffic that will probably hinder him on his lap.
Coming right behind the Finn. Feel like that doesn't ruin his lap all too much.
Yeah, an 18.0 for Raikkonen. We'll see how far down he is in the second sector. He's 4/10 down, so yeah, he's definitely lost a lot of time there. And as such, it's probably not going to be good enough to take him to pole position, as the fastest sectors have been Raikkonen, Montoya and De La Rosa, of course, in that Opel, ever so fast in a straight line, as Raikkonen will go towards the line and actually gain about 0.3 of a second there on Montoya through the last sector, but is not enough to take him to the top of the times. As here is Michael Schumacher about to start his lap.
Prepared. Up the hill once again. Should have the track map open to actually know the corner names. Anyway, Senna is approaching around 50 meters of braking zone. Nice and tidy through the first apex and then the second apex, opening up the throttle for that long sweeping left-hander. Now, turn 4. If you go too deep, there is a gravel trap to me to turn 5, up the hill once again for turn 6. Have a braking zone potential overtaking spot for turn 8 if a driver in front goes wide trying to follow somebody. Now the twisty infield section. You can lose time but not gain time on drivers in front. And once again down the hill up to turn 13, Juan Chao, or however you pronounce it. Up the hill once again, opening up the throttle around 320 kph at the end of the straight, as Michael now obviously needs a decent lap. Considering his 3-place grid drop, goes fastest.
A great lap there from Michael Schumacher then, as he sets the fastest time of the session so far on his first run. He is 0.2 clear of Juan Pablo Montoya, nearly 0.4 clear of his teammate Kimi Raikkonen. Of course, it's going to require a lot more than just grabbing pole position for Michael Schumacher. As, he has a 3-place grid drop, which means at best he will start from 4th position. But even then, Raikkonen is still waiting in the wings. He is a solid competitor, even though he has not been as fast as Michael Schumacher. The sheer consistency and reliability at the other side of the garage to Michael Schumacher has really put Raikkonen in the driver's seat for this World Championship, despite not winning a race so far this season. Another home driver we're currently looking at is Riccardo Speraffico, confirmed last race in Japan to be remaining with the Toyota team for 2005 and will be joined alongside Ralf Furman. Do you see Speraffico, his experience at Toyota, do you think that's going to be enough to beat Ralf Furman, or do you think Furman will have the advantage?
I'm seeing them quite evenly matched in terms of their abilities. Speraffico definitely surprised multiple people in the paddock that earlier in the season said that he should have been replaced in favor of Jacques Villeneuve after Fisichella was cleared to race once again. But feel like Furman and Sparrow-Fico could be a decent midfield outfit, considering Toyota's rise in performance, maybe also challenge for regular podium positions next season, already depending on how well the TF 105 is going to be. But other than that, I feel like Furman and Sparrow-Fico, once, as I said, as Bouillon has a problem there out the pits, will be quite easily matched.
Yeah, it seems like I don't know what's the problem with this car, actually. Maybe a suspension problem there for Jean-Christophe Bouillon, but either way, that's going to set him back in this qualifying session. I've got a replay of that, actually. So, making his way out the garage. The car's already gone. Pretty sure. Is it? No.
Now, tries to rev up and then...
I think it's the suspension, yeah. You see it on the front right. I think it's the front right, maybe.
Could also be right rear. Because the front suspension works.
I'm not entirely sure what's happened there with Jean-Christophe Bouillon. But, yes. Rubens Barrichello is on lap right now. His final race in his first season with Ferrari. He'll be hoping to have a good result. After all, it is his home Grand Prix. And do you see Rubens Barrichello doing well next season, or do you think it's going to be more of the same from the Brazilian? Obviously, going to have a much more useful and inexperienced teammate in Felipe Massa. Do you think he'll rise to the occasion and be the team leader, or do you think he'll struggle once more?
I feel like he will be struggling against Felipe Massa. Felipe Massa currently in a quite poor optimized car in the Red Bull. I feel like therefore Massa's abilities were greatly hampered with the setup of the Red Bull, with him having scored a 6th place and 2 7th places this season, while Barrichello was quite fortunate to get this victory at Bahrain after Trulli and Michael retired. So I feel like Barrichello has probably his hands full once again with a more capable and more talented teammate, and it's probably also going to be quite easily the end of the road for him in the top team after 2005.
Here is Alex Young, then currently slowest of all of the drivers who have set lap times. Montero, after 2 runs, is actually competitively in the lower midfield. Young cannot match him, though, as he only sets a 17.0. The two Minardis, though, were looking fairly strong around this circuit, as both of them were within 4 seconds of the fastest time set. Now, of course, 4 seconds down is obviously not where you want to be, but for a team like Minardi, who have more often than not been closer to 10 seconds off the pace than 5 or even 0 in some cases. Yeah, it certainly seems like Minardi have got a strong package that suits their car. Still, it'll be quite a struggle for them to make it out of the bottom 2, as obviously the Rose Toyotas are not competing this weekend, as Barrichello sets a 2nd lap. And he's only 7th fastest.
Dashi, to answer your question, Rubens, if he finished around here, always at least got the podium, I think.
Yeah, he's definitely scored a podium here in 99, I believe, but...
Also in 2000 and 2003.
Ah, yes, for Renault. Yeah, he finished 2nd, didn't he, behind Trulli?
Trulli.
It was? Yeah.
Yes. Splitting both Ferraris off.
That was the season opener as well in that season.
Other than that, he didn't finish, so yeah.
Here is Narain Karthikeyan then on his 2nd run, and his first run in a Formula 1 car for 4 years and a full-time weekend, and it's a fantastic lap that splits him between Raikkonen and Ralf Schumacher. And he goes just 3 tenths actually off Michael Schumacher's lap time. Karthikeyan already looks prepared and at one with that car. Of course, he has had multiple runouts in the car as the season's gone on, but Karthikeyan really looks like the real deal. We haven't seen him in conventional junior categories Of course, he's been in British Formula 3 before moving to the World Series by Nissan for 2003, winning the title there and then finishing in third place in the championship in 2004 in the Super Truck World Challenge. Do you think Karthikeyan will probably become the face of India in terms of the world of Formula 1?
I mean, currently is their only hope, and he did a pretty decent job in the practice session. So, if he somehow finds a way on the grid the next seasons, he might actually be the face for India in terms of actually getting more interest in the sport over there as well, considering there are a lot of people in that country. I think the most populated country actually on the world, so at one point they probably will strike gold with one driver.
Of course, Narain Karthikeyan being the first ever Indian driver in the world of Formula 1, at least in a race weekend, as Tom Coronel is 4 tenths down through the first 2 sectors. A strong lap here potentially for the Flying Dutchman, currently lining up in 16th position. We haven't seen all too much of him in the races that he's competed in this season. He's been fairly mediocre, but that's a good lap, enough to take him to 4th position and ahead of David Coulthard, who's now just going out on circuit for his second run in the session. Sato, Trulli, Alonso, Glock and Heidfeld have not set lap times yet, although the German currently in 27th place is setting a lap, although unlikely to be setting the timing sheets alight as he's already 4 seconds down through the first 2 sectors.
Also, once again, Opel with a special livery, this time advertising, I think it's Sonic on this airbox.
Yes, with a collaboration with Sega. Once again, the Opel are showing us 2 separate special liveries into this weekend, with Timo Glock, with Sonic Mega Collection Plus, and where's the other one?
De La Rosa
17th is with Sonic Heroes. So
also, if you have not voted in the chat, we have a poll who's going to win the championship. Currently, Raikkonen leads that poll with 56 of the votes, compared to Michael's 44. If you haven't voted, vote now.
Yeah, that vote will close at the end of qualifying, but it seems fairly close as Pedro de la Rosa goes purple in the final sector. Good enough to take him now onto the front 2 rows, a couple hundredths ahead of Tom Coronel. Mark Webber, the Australian, who will see his position at Red Bull vacated and then taken by Vitantonio Liuzzi, is stuck behind the bootsen of
Friesaka, I think.
Friesaka, yes, that is Friesaka.
As Coulthard is 1,000th down on the current fastest sector time for the first sector.
I think Webber got held up a little bit there by the boots and making his way into the pit lane, and as such he remains in 12th position. 3 places higher is where you'll find one of his replacements for next season, David Coulthard, who will move from BAR to Red Bull for next season. Of course, Lamborghini Power is used to using that in 2002 and 03 with BAR, and of course Red Bull currently with that 3-year deal from 2004 to 2006 with Lamborghini Works Power, and Coulthard then will make his way across the line and up onto the front row of the grid. So a solid lap there from the Scotsman as he sets a lap time about half a tenth slower than current pole sitter Michael Schumacher. What about this then? Felipe Massa up towards the line, and he'll set a lap time good enough for 8th position and onto the front 4 rows of the grid. Isaac has kept his P3. That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
So no Alonso points as it currently stands, of Paris is not getting penalised.
Takagi strong through the first sector as well as Heidfeld here on his first lap. Probably going to be towards the back of the grid in terms of his first lap time. His teammate currently 21st on the grid, making his debut in Formula 1 with a 1:16.9. That's 3.7 seconds off the pace. and his teammate Heidfeld goes pretty much a second faster.
That's Takagi now next up.
Perez
Obviously, also
has got a penalty.
Perez got a penalty?
I think so.
Let's fucking go.
No? Horizon? What are you doing, bro?
What?
What's going on?
Huh?
I don't know what's happening, but here is Teranosuke Takagi in his final race for Toyota, and he moves up to 7th position with that lap. Michael Schumacher, though. Raikkonen drew first blood in the early part of the session, but now Michael Schumacher, after his first run, is now at the top of the timing sheet and is now purple in the first sector.
So apparently he has a penalty now.
I will just check this. Michael Schumacher, the first one to get into the 17s in the first sector. And Michael Schumacher is 4 tenths up on his previous personal best here, as the German will make his way up towards the line. This could be a lap time good enough to take him into the 1:12s, especially if he improves in this final sector across the line for the 5-time world champion. And it is a 1:12.7 across the line halfway through the session, and Michael Schumacher extends his gap at the front of the times even further.
Obviously, also with both Rose Motorsport cars, we have only 2 cars not qualifying this race. So I expect Minardi to be down there. Next up, Cristiano D'Amata in what will be his final home Grand Prix is 6 tenths down through the first sector in total, 200ths down on his personal best.
Barrichello also fairly far down the order. He's about a 1/10.5 behind Cristiano D'Amata. His teammate Jarno Trulli, though, has not yet set a lap time. 13th place, though, would certainly not do for the Ferrari driver.
Definitely not. As now heading up to the second sector split, D'Amata, why does the time stand still? He's still down on his personal best.
Cristiano D'Amata then looking to potentially try and at least get ahead of Ralf Schumacher for 11th place in this qualifying session. It's unlikely that he'll do so as he makes his way across the line. It's a 1:14.9. No improvement there for D'Amata, as Sperafico, another home driver, is also on a lap. And I went straight past him. There we go. I will also be right back. I'll be a couple of minutes.
Sperafico therefore up to the line. Can the Brazilian improve on his current 18th position? Definitely has the tools for it. Goes third fastest. Decent lap by Sperafico. Tom Coronel now set an 18.2 through the first sector, coming up to the second sector split pretty soon. Barrichello also improves for the first sector. Coronel barely, though, finds the time through the middle sector. So Coronel 6th fastest overall. Barrichello finding the time required, up 1.5 seconds on his personal best, which would see him climb up to around Sperafico currently. What if Schumacher and Raikkonen get on the same points? Michael is winning it on countback due to him having victories. As Barrichello now goes second fastest, pretty good showing from him at his home Grand Prix. It's currently out on circuit. Jensen Button is finding an improvement. Alex Young is not improving as well as Thiago Montero, as Takuma Sato's finally out on circuit, but Jarno Trulli and Alonso are yet to go out on circuit. Button now being held up there by Mark Webber, probably frustrated not having a seat.
I don't know if you said, but Cristiano De Mata's completed all of his laps now, so he'll start no higher than 14th on the grid.
Pretty much the highest that he could possibly drag the Jaguar. Barrichello on another fast lap could improve further. Button's middle sector greatly hampered his progress. Barrichello, though, improves.
Yeah, Barrichello onto the front row then. His teammate Jarno Trulli still not out there on circuit, nor is Fernando Alonso. We've got the tuna and vegetable pasta today. Very nice. As Sato goes 18th fastest. Mark Webber currently 1.2 seconds down on his teammate Felipe Massa, despite the two only being separated by 4 places. Ricardo Zonta also looking for an improvement and heads up to 19th place on the grid. Hopefully he'll be able to find his way onto the grid, the top 26 potentially beckoning him for what could be his final race in Formula 1 as well. Of course, his home Grand Prix here in Brazil. We've got a lot of Brazilians on the grid now that I think about it. Barrichello, Sperrifico, you've also got Massa, D'Amata, and Zonta. That's six Brazilians, I think. That's a lot of Brazilians.
Mark Webber up to 7th. Button improves to 14th. Pushes currently, well, because they have not set a lap time, Jarno Trulli and Alonso are in the drop zone. Next up, I think, is Christian Klein as well.
I don't think he's on a push lap right now. He's only just now starting his lap as he makes his way up towards the line. About 320 kilometers an hour he'll reach before reaching the brakes in towards the first corner, about 60 or so meters. Very late braking as you go uphill, so the braking is greatly reduced as you plunge down the Senna S and onto the Retroposta. Underneath the Bridgestone gantry then, and the first sector split beckons you in the first couple of corners, and he is half a second up on his personal previous best, although 3/10 down through the first sector on Michael Schumacher. 4 and 5 are then followed by the Ferragura, also known as the Horseshoe Curve, and he'll make his way a double apex corner here in towards turn 8. Like Nils said earlier on, a good overtaking opportunity into turn 8, but you can get a nice switch back here in towards turn 9, although we have seen many an incident there as drivers tried to hold it up the inside. And then you've got the Pico de Passo corner, turn 10, and then another sharp descent down towards turn 12, which is Junsao. And he takes a lot of curb there on the inside, but he carries the momentum fairly nicely, and now he'll make his way up towards the line past I forgot what the corner is called. Well done me. Up towards the line then, and he'll set a lap time of a 1:14.5. A decent lap there from the Austrian as he goes 14th fastest.
Looks decent on his Formula 1 debut. Definitely great step up from GP2. Ralf Schumacher currently not improving for the first sector. Maybe find some time required through the second and third one, as he's in his last race for the Honda team before joining TWR Jaguar, and also Honda leaving F1 after this race.
It will be indeed. They will remain, though, as an engine supplier to Williams and Harrison Motorsports for the following season. Ralf Schumacher a couple of tenths up on his previous best, despite not improving in the first sector, and the 2003 champion will make his way up towards the line in what has been a fairly turbulent season for him. A tale of two halves, I would say, as the first half of the season it was absolutely awful. It took him until the British Grand Prix to score his first points of the year, but since then, tracks such as Belgium, he's been able to score a podium, which was quite a nice surprise for the Japanese team. Up towards the line then for Fernando Alonso, and it's a lap time good enough to put him on the third row of the grid. His teammate Jean-Christophe Bouillon, meanwhile, is a long way down the order, although looks to improve by quite a bit, as the driver who set the first lap time of the session is about 2 seconds up on his sector times through the first two sectors. Juan Pablo Montoya as well, about a tenth or so down on the Frenchman through those parts for the first parts of the lap. And up towards the line, it's a 13.3, which is good enough to put him ahead of his teammate Fernando Alonso. So quite a surprise there, as I've just realised. Mark Webber has also completed all of his laps in the session. He's in 9th place right now, a decent qualifying place, but his teammate Felipe Massa definitely has the potential to go faster than Heidfeld. Is 2 tenths down through the first sector. Juan Pablo Montoya 3 tenths down through the first two sectors. The Colombian certainly wanting to send Williams off, send his career at Williams off on a high after 5 years with the team.
Yeah, is FF banned?
FF shouldn't be banned.
Why is he not? FF is not in the server anymore.
What?
What? Did Thomas ban him?
I don't know. I'll check that on my phone. Hang on.
Yeah, because I don't see him in the list anymore, and I searched through the worlds.
Hang on.
Because I didn't ban him.
Yeah, I'll keep an eye. Bouillon's just improved meanwhile. He's up to 3rd place now, as Nick Heidfeld moves up to 16th place, 3 tenths ahead of his teammate Christian Klein. Sperafico also on the front 3 rows.
Yeah, truly also improving. They're not the list that I can access on who is banned on the server.
That's what I'm trying to find as well.
Normally there is something that you can look through.
Here we go. Audit log. You're not banned. You're just kicked. Thomas did it. Why?
No, why?
You should be able to rejoin though.
He needs a new invite, I think. Complete fresh link.
Okay, I'll get that in a second.
Fucking Thomas.
No. Okay. I'll you keep an eye on that. I'll get a link up.
Yeah. Coronel sitting currently 10th, as we have only around 15 minutes to go in the session. Jarno Trulli in the meantime only 17th fastest. Timo Glock also improving. Needs that improvement desperately currently in the drop zone alongside Alex Young.
So if FF or anyone else who is interested in joining the server wants to join, then you can join with that link in the chat or in the description of the stream. We've got 17 minutes left in this qualifying session, and Michael Schumacher currently tops the times with a 12.7 as Timo Glock goes up to
Only
20th.
20 fastest.
It is only 20th fastest. He was bottom of the times then for a second, as Cristiano De Matta has very quickly slid down the order here. He's down to 23rd on the grid. Montero, though, not improving through the first sector. Furman, as such, has now been put into the bottom two. As I was saying, Michael Schumacher tops the times. The only driver currently to get into the 1 minute 12s. He sits about 3/10 ahead of Rubens Barrichello in second. Bouillon in the Renault is up in third, followed by Coulthard, Montoya, Sperrifico, Alonso and Raikkonen. So as it currently stands, if the race went as is, not including grid penalties, then Michael Schumacher would be the world champion by a singular point, although I expect to see a faster lap set by Kimi Raikkonen in that McLaren. For the Portuguese driver of Tiago Monteiro, then, he is, I would say, about a second from safety. Realistically, he needs to be beating either one of the Bootsons if he wants any chance of making it onto the grid today. However, it looks unlikely that he's even going to improve on his previous personal best as across the line for Monteiro, and it's only 26th fastest still for him, as here is the Irishman of Ralph Furman. His teammate Narain Karthikeyan, on his first race for the Dams team, is up in 13th place as of right now, and it's a solid showing from him. Furman, though, about a quarter of a second down through the first sector.
In the meantime, Tom Coronel has improved on his lap time, but not his position. Stays 10th, and I think is also nearly done with his laps. Button is also improving for the middle sector, but is still down on his personal best. But Ralph Furman desperately needs this clean lap, or else the Irishman could be in danger of not qualifying. 15 minutes to remaining in the session. Button does not find improvement. Furman, though, 2.3 seconds up on his personal best.
Yeah, Furman also failed to qualify at the Chinese Grand Prix at the Shanghai International Circuit after the conditions did not favour him at the end of the session. He would like to not repeat those same antics, although unlikely that it's going to rain in this qualifying session as he makes his way up onto the 6th row of the grid. 2 places ahead then of Narain Karthikeyan and just under a 10th ahead of the Indian driver as well. Christian Klein then, currently in 22nd on the grid. He's 3 places behind his teammate Nick Heidfeld in what has so far been a pretty good showing from the debutant. Crossing the second sector split, not entirely sure whether he's up or down or not, because Jean-Christophe Bouillon really wants to show us his time comparison between his best lap and his last lap. Anyway, for the Brabham driver, he is improving through that middle sector, could potentially jump ahead of Timo Glock with a good enough lap here, and does so up into 20th position. Actually gets ahead of both Ralf Schumacher and Timo Glock by a single thousandth of a second ahead of the reigning world champion. So a good time there from Klein, as he still sits about 3/10 away from his teammate, but solidly in the front 10 rows as of right now. We'll see if Ralf Schumacher can improve on that. He'd like to, considering his teammate Takuma Sato is 4/10 up the road right now. So a big improvement needed for Ralf Schumacher if he wants to outqualify his teammate Takuma Sato for what would certainly not be the first time this season. It's more or less been entirely in Ralf Schumacher's favour after scoring all of the team's points. He has 12 of the team's 12 points this season, including the podium, as I said earlier on, in the Belgian Grand Prix, as well as 2 further points finishes, or maybe even 3 further points finishes. I can't actually remember off the top of my head, but it has been a very solid second half of the season for Ralf Schumacher. Hello, Rose.
He's actually matching his personal best for the first sector, so no improvement there for him currently. Where is he? He scored 4 points finishes in total, 1/3 obviously, a 6th, a 7th, an 8th for Ralf Schumacher.
That's Pedro de la Rosa there.
It's improving.
Pedro de la Rosa there with gearbox issues. That's going to beset his potential in this qualifying session as Ralf Schumacher makes his way up towards the line. The German driver looking to improve past Klein, unable to do so, stays in 21st. Quite a surprise, though. Could
challenge at least his teammate for 27th on on the timing pages.
Nearly
Which
said
will
on the grid
probably
there,
be his-
didn't you?
Nah.
Okay.
Which probably will be his final outing in F1 in total if nobody's picking him up for his great funding that he brings, but does not improve on his lap time or his position. Kimi Raikkonen, though, crucially, is out on track, as well as Michael still improving through the middle sector.
Michael putting everything on the line here to make sure that he starts at worst 4th position on the grid, following his 3-place grid penalty, up towards the line then for the German. And will it be good enough to take him into the new 10th boundary? It would be. 112.6 now for Michael Schumacher. Let's see the response then from Kimi Raikkonen. 4 tenths down through the first 2 sectors. Schumacher certainly seems like he's at one with his car. So often we have seen Michael Schumacher ahead of Raikkonen in qualifying, and it seems like once again it's going to be the Finn playing second fiddle, as Villeneuve seems to be in a bit of an issue. Raikkonen, though, up to 3rd position on the grid, which would, as it currently stands, put him ahead of his teammate on the grid. Jarno Trulli is improving, but let me just get a quick check on what happened there with Jacques
smoke from him, so I'm expecting a BMW engine to go kaput. Heading out of the pits, and already smoke billowing out of the rear of the car, and that's definitely an engine failure right in front of Mike. A good thing that he finished his lap time. Parks it sensibly on the outside. Also, it has been confirmed now Paris has gotten a penalty for his jump start.
Oh dear.
Yeah,
no, what, it was in the. It was 2 places higher than what he should have been on the grid, I think was the problem. Trulli, though, onto the front row of the grid, the second driver to go into the 1 minute 12. So the Ferrari driver, as it currently stands, will put himself 1st place on the grid. Raikkonen is only 4th place. Ricardo Zonta, meanwhile, is looking to try and find an improvement on the grid, and he goes ahead of his teammate Patrick Friesacker, who is not improving through the first sector.
Alpine is trying to reverse the penalty of Gasly, which will not happen because all the drivers were 1 km/h over the speed limit.
0.1, wasn't it?
Or something like that, yeah.
Friesacker then 0.5 tenth down through the first 2 sectors, and is unlikely the Austrian driver to go ahead of his teammate Ricardo Zonta. As it currently stands, needs to find about 1/10 of a second out of the exit of John Sao. We'll see if the Asiatech powered Boutsen is capable of doing so up towards the line, and actually does find the time. 0.3 of improvement there from Patrick Friesacker is good enough to put him ahead of his teammate on what would be the back row of the grid. Heidfeld fails to improve, stays in 19th position, but as it currently stands is ahead of his teammate Christian Klein.
In the meantime, with the grid currently lining up, Trulli and Barrichello will lock out the front row for Ferrari, and Michael and Raikkonen will start alongside each other in 3rd and 4th. Well, if Coulthard doesn't have anything to say about that, it is.
Yeah, Coulthard looking for improvement, and he's ever so slightly up with an 18.1 in the first sector. Takagi has also set an 18.1, Glock an 18.2 in the first part of that lap. Takagi, though, improving through the middle sector. We'll see if he does overall across the line for the Japanese driver, and it's a 4/10 improvement, puts him into the top 10 and directly behind Riccardo Sperrafico. David Coulthard, also out there on circuit, as I previously mentioned. He's now making his way to the second sector split now, and we can't see the times, thank you very much, but we know that he's making his way now up towards the hill and completing yet another lap with 8 minutes to go in this final qualifying session of the season.
Alonso back out on track as well for, I think, his second flyer of the session. Will be interesting to see if he can split the Ferraris or the McLarens. Coulthard stays 6th fastest though. Impressively though, Bouillon sits 5th fastest.
A very good showing from the Renault driver as his teammate now just exits the pits. And look at the track conditions, actually a massive drop
decreased,
in air temperature, 28 to 18 degrees.
I saw earlier that Patrick Friesacker, I think it was on the radio saying that the skies currently are still blue, so maybe there is rain forecasted after the session or just at the end of the session hitting the Interlagos Circuit.
It's looking unlikely as it currently stands, because it seems like a lovely sunny Saturday afternoon for qualifying for the final time this season. Meanwhile, in the poll, 54% of you believe that Kimi Raikkonen will be the world champion. Meanwhile, the remaining 46 will think that the German of Michael Schumacher will take home his record-breaking 6th world title. Ralf Furman improving in the second sector. Hello, Ralf. Welcome in. No further action for Hajar. Yeah, we did see that earlier on. Thank you, Gonçal. Welcome in, by the way. The Spaniard then now starting his lap. Fernando Alonso, currently in 10th place on the grid. Is not a fantastic grid position considering that his teammate Jean-Christophe Bouillon is 5 places higher. And he is, in fact, ever so slightly up on Michael Schumacher's first sector time, although overall not the fastest through that first part of the lap. Christian Klien, though, is improving through the first sector, not quite through the second sector, and overall it'll be a 14.4, which is an improvement, but not enough to take him ahead of teammate Nick Heidfeld.
In the meantime, Ralf Furman has jumped up ahead of Pedro Della Rosa, who's also out on circuit but does not find an improvement. Barrichello, though, also quick through the first sector but slower through the middle sector. Takuma Sato looking for an improvement as well.
Alonso potentially a threat here for pole position on his second run in the qualifying session. His teammate Jean-Christophe Bouillon has proved that the Renault is pretty strong up in 5th place, but Alonso could be reaching for the top spot in this qualifying session. Michael Schumacher could potentially have his fastest time in the qualifying session threatened, and across the line for Alonso, it's not good enough to take him to pole position in this qualifying session, but it is 400 slower.
Crucially, though, Alonso second, therefore pushes Raikkonen down to 5th with Michael still first. He will start ahead of his teammate heading into this race.
And of course, with the grid penalty for Michael Schumacher, that means Alonso is now on pole position as Sato improves, but stays in 16th place, so that's a 7.5 behind Narain Karthikeyan. 2 places high, meanwhile, is where you'll find the 2004 Italian podium sitter, Pedro Della Rosa. With 1 podium to his name, he'll be hoping for bigger things potentially in 2005 with the Opel team. And across the line, he remains in 14th position, despite once again setting the fastest last sector. Narain Karthikeyan then also looking to try and find an improvement, although struggling to, as Michael Schumacher makes his way through the middle sector.
Maybe hampered a bit by the boots there of either Ricardo Santo or Patrick Friesacker. Della Rosa, though, finds the time in the first sector. Barely, though. But maybe a good second sector, another purple last sector could fetch him ahead. Michael, though, is improving once again.
He knows that his teammate Raikkonen is out there on track right now, as is Jarno Trulli with 4 minutes left in the session, so he knows that every single place on the grid will count for Sunday's Grand Prix. Michael Schumacher then across the line, and it is an improvement, only just, but it's enough to take him even further ahead of the rest of the field. Pedro Della Rosa, meanwhile, further back, is improving through the first sector. Not quite sure if he is or not through the second sector, but he is looking to try and find that half a tenth that he needs to take him ahead of Ralf Furman, who also occupies that 7th row.
Raikkonen could improve. He's currently 1.5 tenths up on his personal best, which would fetch him ahead of Rubens Barrichello across the line, goes for fastest and crucially would therefore once again be ahead of his teammate.
Yeah, that's not 1 place gained for Raikkonen as it currently stands. That's 2 places gained as Barrichello has completed his qualifying run, so he will not have any say on whether he'll be able to qualify ahead of Michael Schumacher in this one. As it currently stands, Raikkonen will be 3rd and Schumacher will be 4th. Jarno Trulli, though, is still trying to take pole position off Fernando Alonso. He needs a 10.5 in this last sector alone. And up towards the line, he is unable to find the time. Trulli currently 2nd on the grid, but 3rd fastest.
Other than that, I don't think any driver particularly is improving on their personal bests. Sonta now over the line. Is he even on a lap or is he starting one? He was on a lap, does not find an improvement to go ahead of his teammate to, well, around 3 minutes remaining in the session. And both Boutsen look to lock out the final row, just behind both Jaguars.
Yeah, it seems fairly obvious that the Minardi crew will not see that either one of their cars qualify for the final Grand Prix of the season, which is quite a shame. But at least both Futsons have made it onto the grid in this 28-car qualifying session. Across the line then for Friesaka, and a 15-0 is an improvement, but only just.
Takagi maybe finds something to climb ahead of his teammate. Heidfeld does not find improvement required to go ahead of Jacques Villeneuve.
Takagi, as Nils just said, in the top 10 with 2 minutes remaining on the clock. He needs to find a couple hundredths of a second to go ahead of Riccardo Sbarafico. Is also on the 5th row of the grid right now, so he is not finding the time that he needs to get ahead of his teammate as it currently stands. He needs to find a final sector somehow faster than Michael Schumacher if he wants to take the time off Riccardo Sbarafico and the place. And up towards the line then for the Japanese driver, and it's not going to be good enough to make it onto the 9th place on the grid. Welcome in.
Potentially.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Go
on. Coulthard potentially also looking for another improvement on his time, but gets held up there by Nick Heidfeld.
Welcome in Derbysaw, as well as Alessandro and Auto Expert. Welcome in, everybody. You've joined us at the end of this qualifying session, where as it currently stands, Michael Schumacher has set the fastest lap time in the qualifying session. However, his 5-second time penalty that he accrued in the Japanese Grand Prix is going to set him back 3 places on the grid, which means as it currently stands, Michael Schumacher will start 4th on the grid, 1 place behind his teammate Kimi Raikkonen. Of course, Raikkonen with the 8-point advantage going into this final race. So, as it currently stands, the championship permutations are Michael Schumacher needs to win with Raikkonen no higher than 7th, or Michael Schumacher needs to be in 2nd and Raikkonen outside of the points. Who's Bouillon driving for? He's driving for Renault in place of...
also, Alonso's out
Giorgio
on
Pantano.
circuit.
I don't think he'll make it round in time. No, he will not.
I don't think so neither. Yeah.
Ralph Furman, though, is 13th right now. Unlucky for some, but he could find himself higher on the grid, with Tom Coronel, surprisingly, in the top half of the grid for what I believe is the first time this season. He's put on a good performance just behind the lead Red Bull of Mark Webber. He's solidly ahead of his teammates, and once again will prove why it's a bit unjust how he's leaving Formula 1, as Furman ever so slightly down through the first 2 sectors.
Alonso has not made it over the line in time to start one final flyer who could have potentially taken off the pole. Well, the pole position during the session of Michael Schumacher. Furman does not find improvement to climb up to 12. I don't think Sato is on the flyer as well. Therefore, the qualifying session has been concluded.
And there you go then, Michael Schumacher setting the fastest lap time in the qualifying session. However, it will be Fernando Alonso on pole position for the final race of 2004. Jarno Trulli will complete the front row, with Kimi Raikkonen completing the top 3. Michael Schumacher, who has it all to do in this Grand Prix, will start from 4th in the race, as Rubens Barrichello will start from 5th, Bouillon 6th, Coulthard 7th, Montoya 8th, and then you'll see Webber and Coronel completing the top 10, as both Toyotas with engine grid penalties going into this race, 5 apiece, which means that they'll drop from 9th and 10th to 14th and 15th respectively. That means that Furman and Della Rosa will get ahead, I think. I'll have to calculate this properly, because Sbarafico will be 13th because he'll drop below Takagi, but then Takagi will drop below him as well. So it'll be, I think, Sbarafico 13th and Takagi 14th. I think that's how it works. I might just add 5. I don't know how it works exactly, but this is the qualifying order. Sato, Massa, Villeneuve, Heidfeld, and Klein on his debut completing the top 20. Glock in 21st, followed by reigning champion Ralf Schumacher in 22nd, ahead of the 2 Jaguars of Button and D'Amata, the 2 Bootsons of Friesaka and Zonta, and the 2 Minardis of Montero and Young failed to qualify, with neither Rose Toyota obviously competing in this qualifying session after their withdrawal at the start of the weekend. And I think we will end the poll there which does see Michael Schumacher with 52% of the vote. You guys think he'll win this championship? An 8-point deficit, you'll think it'll be no problem for Michael Schumacher. I guess we'll find out at the end of the 71 laps of the Brazilian Grand Prix. We'll be right back. We'll be back for the final race of the season. Okay, after a number of attempts to restart, oh my, those are some conditions of all time. We've got interchangeable conditions, potentially, for the start of this race. It is wet right now, but it is expected to go dry. We'll keep this on graphic on for right now, but we are here for the final race of the season. Alonso then will start from pole position ahead of Jarno Trulli, but the two people we're focused on today, Kimi Raikkonen, qualified in 4th, moved up to 3rd following Michael Schumacher's 3-place grid penalty. Schumacher, though, was comfortably the fastest, so we shall keep an eye on whether he is capable of taking the race victory here today. Of course, the race victory would not be enough for him to win the championship, as he needs Raikkonen outside of the top 6. Montoya then going out on circuit, and following him is Michael Schumacher, most importantly though on the intermediate tyres. Interesting stuff.
First two drivers out on inters. Maybe the drivers out in the pits gamble on staying as long as possible in the pit garage to potentially stick on the soft tyres.
We're keeping an eye on what Raikkonen goes on to as well for the start of this race, as we are expecting some interesting strategies to be at play with these conditions at the start of the Grand Prix. Raikkonen's still not out there on circuit yet. No one who has gone out on circuit on anything but the intermediate tyres. Of course, 71 laps at the end of it will decide the victor of not only this Grand Prix, but the 2004 season. And 52% of you believe that Michael Schumacher will take the victory this season. The other 48, of course, going the other way. And Raikkonen is out there on also the intermediate tyres. So the strategies are the same between the two McLarens.
Interesting. I mean, I don't think any strategy disadvantage would have been put on any driver with both being in the championship fight. But I would have guessed at least one of them would have gambled at least on something different to their teammate.
So with the interchangeable conditions, a lot of drivers out there on the intermediate tyres. We've just got a couple minutes until the race starts. And if you want, be sure to grab yourself a drink and a snack, because this is most definitely going to be an interesting championship decider between Michael Schumacher, who is gunning for his 6th World Championship, and Kimi Raikkonen, his teammate, gunning for his first ever world title. Of course, only one driver before him from the country of Finland has ever won the World Championship, being Keke Rosberg. Mika Hakkinen came close on multiple occasions, but was never able to reach the summit. And we will now wait on whether Fernando Alonso will go out there, as well as the rest of the grid on the dry tyres, or whether they will remain on the intermediates. Jarno Trulli, though, on the intermediate tyres. Raikkonen, intermediate tyres. Schumacher, intermediate tyres. Barrichello, intermediate tyres.
Nobody is trying to gamble. Not even at least somebody at the back currently is looking to maybe get an offset on the established order. Someone like Boutsen could potentially risk at least one driver on the soft tires, considering them being at the back.
And Alonso out there on the intermediates as well, so we're seeing no differing strategies between any of the teams and drivers, it would seem, as we've just got a couple more drivers to head out there on circuits to form up on the grid. You did get back at the perfect time, Leo. Just a couple moments away now from starting what could be it will be a record-breaking season for either one of Raikkonen or Schumacher. Of course, Raikkonen could be the first ever world champion to not win a race in the championship winning campaign, But Michael Schumacher is gunning for that record-breaking 6th world title, which would break Fangio's 47-year record of 5 world titles.
I don't know which one is more impressive considering the circumstances of the season. Alonso out on circuit, also on the intermediates.
Seems that everywhere you look on the grid, yep, they're all going to be on intermediate tyres going into this one, so no strategies differing between any of the drivers as we're waiting for, I believe it's Takagi and Alonso to line up on the grid, and then we'll get this final race of the season underway. And of course, Patrick Friesacker, you can't park there, mate, not like that.
Also now making his way up to his first place grid spot.
And without further ado then, no, Keke Rosberg won 1 race in 1982. So without further ado then, 71 laps are to decide the final and 18th round of this 2004 Formula One World Championship. It's the 2004 Brazilian Grand Prix. It's here now.
Welcome to Brazil. The weather, as so often is the case here, is just wonderful. Over 30 degrees and climbing. It's a fantastic day for Formula One. Alonso first. Jarno Trulli second. Kimi Raikkonen third. Schumacher fourth. Rubens Barrichello, 5th. 6th. David Coulthard, 7th. The Williams driver was decidedly average in qualifying and will have to work extra hard to make the most of his midfield position. He starts 8th. Mark Webber, 9th. 10th. Ralph Furman, 11th. Pedro de la Rosa, 12th.
Narain Jaffe,
13th.
Riccardo Sperafico,
14th. Tora Takagi, 15th. Takuma Sato, 16th. Massa, 17th. Villeneuve was way off the pace of his teammate. He starts in 18th. Nick Heidfeld, 19th. Chris Liedorkheim, 20th. T. Motlow, 21st. Ralf Schumacher, 22nd. Jenson Button, 23rd. Cristiano D'Amata, 24th.
And with the 2 Bootsons of Friesacker and Zonta on the back row of the grid, there's only one thing left to do, and that's to decide this 2004 World Drivers' Championship as the drivers await for the lights. And the lights have gone green. There's racing to be seen. It seems like everyone's gone off the line well, and it's a good start for Fernando Alonso as he barrels in towards turn 1 at the front of the field. Jarno Trulli is in second, followed by Raikkonen. Schumacher. Jean-Christophe Bouillon, meanwhile, has gone past Rubens Barrichello in these sketchy conditions. A good start there for the Frenchman, but at the front, Alonso leads. Jarno Trulli trying to fend off Kimi Raikkonen as they head in towards the second sector for the first time of 71.
I think nobody has lost any parts on their car in the meantime. I think De La Rosa made a good start as well as Sperafico. De La Rosa up to 10th, Sperafico up to 11th. As Glock has lost multiple positions down to 22nd. But Raikkonen on the offense, obviously knowing that his teammate is right behind him, needs to get a move on early on. And potentially get away from his teammate, especially with the conditions obviously improving. The rain has stopped, it's only damp out there. So Trulli now looks for a move there on Alonso.
Yeah, Raikkonen really gunning for it off this start. He's putting massive pressure on Jarno Trulli at the start of this lap. And potentially going into lap 2, he could take second place away from the Ferrari driver. He's going to look towards the inside, in towards the first corner, brake later than Jarno Trulli as the two go side by side. And Raikkonen just about edges in front by the time they reach turn 3. Yes, it's Raikkonen that's ahead. So huge there for Kimi Raikkonen as he puts a car between him and his champion potential champion-to-be teammate, as Kimi Raikkonen then will try and charge after Fernando Alonso at the start of this race. Raikkonen 2nd, Schumacher 4th.
Coronel has dropped. Takagi has dropped his 17th off the start. As Raikkonen nearly lost the car. That's not how you win your championship, my friends. Keep your cool.
Yeah, Raikkonen, of course known as the Iceman, nearly losing his cool there, as Nils said, through the Ferragura curve, and nearly spinning out of potential contention of this World Drivers' Championship. Michael Schumacher, he's not putting that much pressure on Jarno Trulli, but he certainly seems to have a slight advantage over the Ferrari man as of right now. Alonso, though, will be looking over his shoulder fairly soon as Kimi Raikkonen closes in on him at the end of lap 2. Everyone seems to be getting away well. Frisak has kind of dropped off the back of the pack a little bit as Raikkonen sizes up a move for a late braking move up towards the inside of turn 1. He's gone from a long way back, a little bit of contact between the two, but Alonso just about fends him off as he makes his way through the first couple of corners. Raikkonen certainly in control of this one as of right now, as Karthikeyan has just gotten past Tom Coronel. A poor start for the Dutchman as he falls down to 14th place on the start of this Grand Prix. Ralf Schumacher, meanwhile, putting one past Jacques Villeneuve. He's had a poor start, as we'll get a look at towards the front of the field again. Kimi Raikkonen.
Raikkonen once again looking for a move up the hill. Not the usual place to make a move. But Raikkonen looks feisty, looks to finally get a win on this belt in this season. But could also just be an indicator that he's slightly fueled to maybe counter the intermediate phase of this race and maybe go onto the dry tires pretty early on and mix it up with his normal fuel strategy.
It'll be interesting to see then when they switch off from the intermediate to the dry tyres, but as it currently stands in these conditions, Raikkonen very clearly has the advantage over the rest of the field. Alonso leads Raikkonen, Trulli, Schumacher, Bouillon, Barrichello, Coulthard and Webber as they start lap 4. Biggest gainers on the field is Sperrifico has gained 4 places. Barrichello has gone past Jean-Christophe Bouillon to reassert himself into the top 5. Coronel's lost 4. Ralf Schumacher gained 4. Takagi has lost 5 as he's just been overtaken there by Timo Glock through the first corner. Villeneuve has also fallen behind Christian Klein, so it's been an absolutely shocking start for him as Coulthard and Webber go side by side. The Australian and the driver who is being replaced by David Coulthard are battling here for the final 2 points positions. Coulthard has that outside line and the advantage in momentum, but Webber has the inside line. He's going to switch towards the outside though for turn 9. And Coulthard may just be about to hold on to that one. He does so. So the BAR will stay ahead as Bouillon seems to be backing up the 2.
Stone.
Yeah, Takagi's
22nd.
It's been a terrible start for Teranosuke Takagi. He's dropped back several places off the start. We'll get a replay as to how he lost these positions. I believe that he lost it down towards turn 1 against Timo Glock. Easy move there for the German as he makes his way up the inside.
He lost 3 positions in 1 lap. That's not a good look for him for potential offers, considering his earlier pace in Japan. Clean also quite easily through.
Yeah, and here's the other one, Jacques Villeneuve. Much more confidence rather than Teranosuke Takagi into the Ferragura, and as such, Takagi is now down to 22nd in this race. Alonso then still leading the way, but only just ahead of Kimi Raikkonen. 2 tenths is the gap as they come across the line, and Raikkonen's a lot closer than he has been in the previous laps to Fernando Alonso as they try to go side by side through the first corner. Switches to the outside for turn 2 and to the inside again for turn 3, and Raikkonen has gained another place. Raikkonen is boxing, but he has taken the lead, most crucially, of the Brazilian Grand Prix, so he will get into the pits before anyone else, of course. With the pit lane expected to be quite busy off this start, Michael Schumacher is also told to box at the end of this lap, so potentially a double stack from McLaren, unless they have separate pit boxes. I'm not entirely sure with this track, but Raikkonen, most crucially, has the lead over Fernando Alonso. Rubens Barrichello, meanwhile, after getting past Jean-Christophe Bouillon, is now putting pressure on Michael Schumacher. It's falling away from the German as it currently stands.
Also, Rubens Barrichello setting the fastest lap. Currently, Ralph Furman now is told to stop. I feel like there's much activity to be expected now on lap 5 already of this race in the pit lane. McLaren obviously ready for both championship contenders as well. Renault ready for at least Alonso and Bouillon as well.
I think we're going to see both Ferraris stay out here. Oh no, we're going to see Trulli come into the pits.
Trulli gets in.
Barrichello's in as well, so I think we're going to see many drivers in. Webber's going to stay out. He's going to go for the overcut here. This could be a good strategy here, as it's going to be a hectic pit lane here on lap 5. So Webber has taken the lead of the race, and that's contact between the two Renaults. And it seems that Bouillon's in trouble here.
Out.
I think Bouillon could be in trouble here. He stole the car. And as such, I think he's going to be out this race. The first retirement of the Grand Prix. I can't exactly see through the chaos. Out of the pits comes Raikkonen, Alonso. There's Michael Schumacher. Rejoining between the two Jaguars. It's going to be potentially or even behind.
That's not good for his championship, considering Raikkonen is ahead of this whole queue. And he's stuck behind both battling Jaguars.
There's Alonso then. Raikkonen in 10th on the rejoin. Alonso 11th. Schumacher 15th, but he is, most importantly, he's jumped ahead of Jarno Trulli through the pit phase, so he's gained 1 place, and he's also got ahead of Rubens Barrichello considerably. Sperrifico has also made big gains off that start, as I think Jean-Christophe Bouillon, oh, I don't know what's happening here. Okay, they've retired the car, and he is out of the race. Oh yeah, Trulli has gotten past Michael Schumacher, so Trulli taking advantage as Michael Schumacher stuck in the traffic here. Trying to see who's going to make their way into the pits. The front two stay out. De La Rosa from 3rd place is into the box. Karthikeyan then into the top 3 in this race, as both Opels make their way into the stop. As Klein is up into the top 6. Heidfeld is up to 4th as he's just overtaken there Felipe Massa. Both on the intermediate tyres, so Heidfeld will now go and charge after the Indian driver of Narain Karthikeyan. It's very hectic as Webber leads Montoya, Karthikeyan, Heidfeld, Massa, Klein, Villeneuve. And I think De La Rosa and someone else have come together in the pit lane.
Oh,
I'm not.
no.
Takagi's out the race.
Takagi De La Rosa out the race. We lost 2 more, and Glock will lose a heap of time now, stuck behind his rear wing last teammate heading out the pits.
I'll get a replay of that then. So Pedro De La Rosa making his way into the stop, and it was, in fact, Teranosuke Takagi there. So Takagi has caused the contact with Pedro De La Rosa, unfortunately. And both drivers are going to be out of this race. That's going to lead us up to 3 in this Grand Prix, as one of the Opels only remains in this race. As there, Trulli under pressure from Michael Schumacher, as the two are stuck behind. The home driver of Cristiano D'Amata. Mark Webber called into the pits as these two go side by side. This could be huge for the championship picture, but Trulli stays ahead of the German.
Now the rest of the intermediate runners are ready to head into the pits as well, therefore clearing Raikkonen and Alonso at the front of the grid. Hopefully no further incidents heading into the pits here now.
Seems that they're all going to get on with it. Seems that they're all going to get away with it here. Montoya's going to rejoin in the points potentially, but at the front of the field, Raikkonen's going to lead here ahead of Alonso, Trulli and Schumacher. Mark Webber has played this to perfection. He's going to rejoin in 5th place ahead of Riccardo Sperrifico. As Barrichello and Montoya is going to...
Actually.
Yeah, as Montoya is going to complete the points. Barrichello has probably lost the most, as Nils said, out of the top 8.
And Raikkonen is opening a slight gap to Alonso, crucially in his fight. Michael only 4th behind Jarno Trulli.
The two Brabhams as well have gained massive on that one. Heidfeld up to 12th position, Klein up to 15th. Ralf Schumacher also gaining quite considerably, as Coronel has probably been the biggest loser out of the lot of them, only ahead of Patrick Friesacker in this race, who trundles around at the back. But Alonso certainly seems to now have the advantage on the switch of tyres.
Still, though, the Renault engine not able to follow the McLaren. Therefore, definitely struggles at the most crucial overtaking spots against Raikkonen.
The fastest lap of the race. Barrichello is running 7th.
Barrichello will try and gain the places back from Speraffico and Webber that he lost. Of course, Webber leaving Red Bull at the end of the season, and he's proving to the world on why he should be staying in the world of Formula One, potentially with some good results elsewhere in other series. In 2005 he could be back on the grid for the 2006 season, but at the front of the field, Raikkonen just about holding on ahead of Fernando Alonso, who looks anxious to retain his race lead. Speraffico, meanwhile, has just gotten past Mark Webber through the Ferragera curve, so Webber down to 6th, but still in the points.
Alonso, though, looks more comfortable now on the dry tyres compared to Raikkonen. Looking for a move past.
Karthikeyan, meanwhile, has overtaken Nick Heidfeld. We could see an overtake for the race lead here. Fernando Alonso closer than he was on the previous lap to the Flying Finn, although not flying as it currently stands. Alonso really keeping up with him in this early stage of the Grand Prix. Raikkonen leading Alonso by 0.4 of a second. Trulli is in 3rd, Schumacher 4th, Speraffico 5th, but for how much longer? Webber with a improvement in straight line speed versus the Toyota can't quite make his way through in towards the first corner. Coulthard now closing in on this Montoya Barrichello battle, as those two are probably close to battling. Klein looking for a move up the inside of Ralf Schumacher. The Honda may have to cede this one to the Brabham Mercedes, but Ralf Schumacher just about holding on to it through turn 2. Alonso has got past. Alonso now leads this Grand Prix. Alonso, I think, just overtook through the Ferragera curve. We'll take a look at that in a second. But Raikkonen now shuffled down to 2nd position. Of course, will still win the championship from that position, but it is a slight advantage now to Michael Schumacher as Webber and Speraffico continue to go side by side.
Ralf Schumacher now got him getting past Nick Heidfeld as well, making his inroads for potential points-paying position.
So we'll get a replay then of what's actually happened between Raikkonen and Fernando Alonso. Up the inside for the Spaniard. Unable to get that move done, but he gets close. Then up the inside in towards turn 6. Raikkonen leaves the door open, and off the racing line goes Fernando Alonso and into the race lead. But for how much longer? Raikkonen's got a run on him towards the first corner as they begin lap 11 of 71. It feels like this is towards the end of a Grand Prix, the way these two are battling, but Raikkonen not leaving Alonso an inch there. Alonso not leaving Raikkonen as an inch as the two make contact through the first corner, but Raikkonen cannot regain that lead from Fernando Alonso. Michael Schumacher now with the fastest lap.
Obviously, the track's still improving, so anybody who has a fast car under his ass essentially can get a fast lap here. But Raikkonen now once again putting pressure on Alonso. Only 1 tenth between both of them. Furman in the background had a move on Sato, and Raikkonen repays Alonso the favour up the hill.
So Raikkonen retakes the lead then of the Brazilian Grand Prix. The fans are really being treated to a great battle here as Speraffico, the Brazilian, the lead Brazilian in this Grand Prix, gets ahead of Mark Webber. As one Brazilian gains a place, another one loses a place, as that's Barrichello now behind Juan Pablo Montoya. I imagine David Coulthard will be fairly quick to get past Barrichello as it currently stands, as Montoya shoots off into the distance through the middle sector.
Heidfeld has lost 2 positions to Klein and Massa. As Button has gotten past Glock as well.
It's been a fantastic debut so far for Christian Klein, who now moves ahead of his teammate. We'll get a look at that one actually, because that could be a potential debut to remember for Christian Klein. He went for the move actually in towards turn 1.
Up the hill, probably.
Then part 2 of the move, yep, up the inside of the Ferragura curve. We expected moves to be done in towards turn 8, but it's in fact through the double right-hander of turns 6 and 7 that places are being made, and Heidfeld loses 2 for the price of 1 there, and as such he falls down to 16th in this Grand Prix. Sato trying to keep up with Ralf Furman in what is his last race for the Honda team.
But we can now put under pressure by the 2000 world champion David Coulthard. But Alonso and Raikkonen still battling along, as Raikkonen has set the fastest lap, nearly loses the car up the hill, and once again as Alonso regains the race lead.
These two not wanting to let each other get away as it currently stands. The slipstream pretty strong through the first section. It's allowing them to keep with with each other through the first parts of the middle sector, as Mark Webber goes clean around the outside there of Riccardo Speraffico and regains that 5th position. A lot of back and forth between drivers as Sato asserts himself into the top 10. Massa now past both Brabhams further behind, as Button has just overtaken Jacques Villeneuve. It's not been a good race for the Williams driver.
Smoke behind.
Smoke behind. It is...
I think it was... It's one of the Opels. Yeah, can only be Glock.
Yeah, it's Glock. Glock's got smoke coming out the back of his engine, and the strong end to this season for Opel is going to be curtailed pretty early on. De La Rosa crashing with Takagi in the pit lane, and now his teammate Timo Glock is going to have the first mechanical retirement of this race as he attempts to hold off Cristiano D'Amata. And it's going to be quite interesting to see. Yes, Glock is still pulling away from him despite the fact that he's got an engine failure, which is absolute Cosworth right now.
Absolute shambolic on Cosworth's end.
Karthikeyan, meanwhile, has just overtaken Ralf Furman, so he's having a fantastic first race for the Dams team. Speraffico trades places with Mark Webber once again in this race, as there wasn't a trade in places between the two leaders of Fernando Alonso and Kimi Raikkonen. So Raikkonen's 6 behind Fernando Alonso, but probably attempts, or will attempt, to move in towards the first corner.
Could potentially have a run once again, but he's 5 tenths down on the Renault, so would be a lunge from downtown. Not close enough, but Trulli is slowly reeling them in, gaining around 2 tenths per lap.
On that last lap, he gained a whole second on the 2, actually, so a fantastic lap there from the Italian, as he could enter the frame, potentially taking his final race win for... Oh, did we drop out?
You completely cut out.
Ah, yes, I see it here. We should be back now, but... you missed Raikkonen overtaking Fernando Alonso, and Timo Glock retiring with the engine failure that we saw him have earlier on. So Raikkonen still leading Alonso. Trulli is gaining around a second a lap on the previous lap. I don't think so much on this lap. In fact, Raikkonen has just set the fastest lap of the race, so clearly Trulli has lost a little bit of time there through the fin.
But once again looking for a move down Speraffico, not close enough into turn 1. Furman once again gets past his teammate though.
The two Dams trading positions here, as Karthikeyan actually falls a bit under pressure here from Ralf Schumacher, so potentially a poor exit there from the Indian driver out of Junsao, as David Coulthard is sizing up a move on Rubens Barrichello for the final points position.
Potentially up the hill through 6 and 7. Could be a move for the BAR Audi. But not close enough this time. Well, actually, Rubens Barrichello leaves the door open, but closes it up the hill. And Sato has caught up to this battle.
Sato having the race of his life right now in these pretty damp conditions on the dry tyres. He's putting this Honda through its paces. Ralf Schumacher also having a very decent race from towards the back of the grid. And now Sato is potentially going to try and look for a move on David Coulthard and Rubens Barrichello. Not many times this season that Honda have been overly competitive. But for right now, Sato running in the top 10.
In the meantime, Alonso has closed the gap a bit again to Raikkonen, as well as Trulli slowly still reeling him in.
About 5 seconds
Barrichello just about with the advantage in towards turn 1 to keep Coulthard at bay, as Alonso trying a move up the inside of Raikkonen, unable to find his way through up the inside though in towards turn 8. The hairpin corner, and that's another move made for Fernando Alonso. It's a different corner, and the Spaniard retakes his race lead ahead of Kimi Raikkonen. All the time though that these two are battling, Jarno Trulli is closing them in.
Weber once again past Sperfico. But those two have somewhat gotten away from Montoya, who's now in turn still barely ahead of this whole kerfuffle of drivers, as Coulthard now gets past Barrichello for the final points paying position.
Good move there from the Scotsman, as by the time they reach turn 10, he's going to pull ahead of Rubens Barrichello and into the points paying positions. Next on his radar is the Williams of Juan Pablo Montoya, who looks pretty slow in this early stage of the race. Maybe a heavy fuel load as he's starting to gain a bit of a train behind him. Yes, as Nils just said, a bit of a wayward moment there for the Scotsman, and that might put Rubens Barrichello on the front foot in towards turn 1. In the slipstream now of David Coulthard, and Rubens Barrichello could retake the position that he lost just half a lap ago. Looking up the inside then, later on the brakes compared to David Coulthard, and the Ferrari man is going to go up the inside of the BAR side by side as they go through the centre S. Barrichello with the extra grip as they reach turn 3. Barrichello is just going to about inch ahead here at his home Grand Prix ahead of David Coulthard. So Barrichello once again in towards the top 8. Coulthard not looking for a move in towards turn 4. And he is unable, of course, to make that move. Meanwhile, a trade of positions once again between Sperfico and Webber. Webber nearly losing the car. And Barrichello turning defence into attack as he goes for another place. So that's Barrichello now up to Montoya. Up the inside of Montoya, I should say, and up to 7th place in this Grand Prix.
I also find it interesting that Sperfico said that Webber had a fat skill issue as he nearly spun behind him, but Jarno Trulli now is 2 seconds shy of the race lead only.
Montoya really putting Barrichello under pressure here, but we have seen the Williams struggle in a straight line this season, and he might actually fall under pressure of losing a points position in this race to David Coulthard behind, as the BMW power versus the Audi power, 2 German giants in the automobile industry, as David Coulthard is going to look towards the inside. No, Montoya fends that one off in towards the first corner, so he'll hold on to his 8th place as of right now. At the front of the field, though, the 2 race leaders remain side by side with each other through turns 6, 7 and 8. Contact between the two as they go through 9 and into the Pico de Pato corner of turn 10. Raikkonen will take the lead of the race, but there is Jarno Trulli, well and truly in shot now, potentially taking the race lead for himself, as the battle between McLaren and Renault now becomes a battle between McLaren, Renault and Ferrari.
Risaco, in the meantime, has been lapped by this trio. So no lap cars as of now for the next foreseeable future.
Benny's crashing out.
Usual, just the usual things. And once again, Webber on the back of Sperfico will probably look for the move in turn 1 on the Toyota driver. There he goes. Easy move, actually.
Oh, not as he's made contact there with Sperfico. And Sperfico's round. Sperfico's lost the place there, and I think Webber's probably going to pick up a time penalty for that one, as Sperfico struggles to get it round. And Sperfico's great start to this race has been undone by an Australian a bit too late on the brakes and unable to slow his car down by the time they reach turn 2. And as such, the Toyota will return to the track down in 14th position. I imagine Sperfico is going to be calling for Mark Webber to get a penalty for that one.
And if you're not in control of your car, you should be penalized for this. But obviously, the Red Bull still not able to take corners. Just lost it under throttle once again and then spears across, trying to correct the spin. And obviously on this incline where there's a little bump, Sperfico not able to get the car right back on the circuit. But in the meantime, at the front, Raikkonen has gotten away from Alonso because he's more preoccupied trying to defend from Jarno Trulli.
Here we have the two Brabhams battling over 15th position. Klein just ahead of his teammate Nick Heidfeld. Heidfeld would prefer to be the lead driver on track, and he does take that position through the Ferragera curve, and as such moves into said 15th position on the circuit. As there's Fernando Alonso getting tipped round by Jarno Trulli, and Trulli moves up to second position, but at what cost to Fernando Alonso, and what cost to potentially getting a time penalty for that one? They're also looking into a steward's inquiry of Mark Webber versus Riccardo Sbarafico, but currently on track, Raikkonen now leads by 4 seconds ahead of Jarno Trulli. Alonso runs in third, ahead of now Michael Schumacher, who's looking to get his way up into the podium places.
You're running 7.
Oh, Michael obviously needs to get the move on in order to somehow salvage his championship. But Trulli will definitely get a penalty for this one.
Yeah, way too late to get alongside there. Fernando Alonso. Alonso closed the door as he's obliged to, since Jarno Trulli was not alongside until the very last moment. And as such, Alonso goes spinning round. And let me do this 1 second. So it's going to be Mark Webber with a 10-second time penalty for collision with Riccardo Sbarafico, and it's going to be a 5-second penalty for Jarno Trulli for that collision with Fernando Alonso,
which would see him drop down to 4th as he currently stands. But all this has allowed Raikkonen to bolt away. He's now 4 seconds ahead of Jarno Trulli, and set on course to get his first championship and his first race victory of the season. Probably the most important race victory that he could possibly get.
And of course, a race victory here in the 2004 Brazilian Grand Prix would confirm Kimi Raikkonen as the second ever Finnish world champion behind Keke Rosberg. Jarno Trulli, though, is closing up that gap, so maybe the penalty could be a good payoff for him here, as he's no longer stuck battling with Fernando Alonso and can now fully concentrate on attacking the race leader.
I mean, if he spins around Raikkonen, he definitely get another penalty and will spice up the championship even further. But Alonso is slowly dropping back, and now in the thanks of Michael Schumacher, who has to get a move on and hope that Raikkonen somehow drops behind more drivers.
Yes, as it currently stands, regardless of where Raikkonen finishes in this race, if Michael Schumacher is not in the top 2, then he will lose the championship to his teammate, regardless of where Kimi Raikkonen finishes in this Grand Prix. Everyone's made a single stop so far on lap 22 of 71, as Raikkonen leads by a couple seconds ahead of Jarno Trulli in second position. Alonso just holding off Michael Schumacher for that final podium place, as the German picking up a nice bit of slipstream here, looking towards the inside in towards turn 4. Alonso, though, holds firm on his third position as of right now. We've seen a lot of overtakes in towards the Ferragera curve here. Maybe this could be another one set up by Michael Schumacher as he's looking up the inside of Fernando Alonso. And that is the German onto the podium places, as Narain Karthikeyan on his Dams debut, struggling with his gearbox. He seems to be out of this race. And there he is, stuck in 7th gear. Narain Karthikeyan will be the second mechanical retirement of this race after a strong start to this Grand Prix.
Would have been a potential top 10 finish for the Indian driver, but obviously with the reliability problems known to the Dams team, it's not going to finish this one.
Regardless, though, Dams will be breathing a sigh of relief, as because both Opel cars are out of this race, that confirms that the team will finish in 6th place in the 7th place, in the Constructors' Championship. But for Michael Schumacher, he has just set the fastest lap of the race, as both Trulli and Schumacher seemingly closing in on Kimi Raikkonen for the race lead. They are approaching seemingly Ricardo Zonta, it seems. Is next up on the radar of Raikkonen, as he's about 8 to 10 seconds in front of the Finn. As of right now, Frisacker, of course, has been lapped by the top 4 at this current stage of the race and is soon to be lapped by 5th place man Mark Webber, who is still pulling out a decent gap ahead of Rubens Barrichello. Karthikeyan makes his way into the stop to retire the car, which is quite a shame for him, considering, like Nils said, could have been a potential top 10, maybe even points if he were lucky enough, as the two Jaguars commence battle with each other directly behind the Williams of Jacques Villeneuve. Pretty impressive, meanwhile, for Christian Klein as it currently stands, as he's matching his teammate stride for stride in this early part of the race. Mata, meanwhile, getting past Jenson Button.
Right, a kerfuffle of cars here in this battle. 4 drivers scrabbling over 16th as Alonso now sets the fastest lap as Klein goes for a move on his more experienced teammate. That's a way to make an impression.
These two, of course, teammates for the Austrian rebrand of Brabham for 2005, and Klein gets the upper hand on Nick Heidfeld. So maybe Heidfeld will have to look over his shoulder more often than he has done in 2004 compared to Antonio Pizzoni. As there goes Alonso, repaying the favour to Michael Schumacher, taking the fastest lap of the race away from him, and as such taking his 3rd place on track away from him as well. Truly though, all the meanwhile closing in on Kimi Raikkonen, the gap just over a second between the two leaders.
Raikkonen obviously has not to fight with Trulli, considering, first of all, the Italian has a penalty, and obviously he's in prime position to take the championship regardless, because his teammate Michael is nowhere near the top 2.
Yes, of course, permutations between the two championship contenders. Raikkonen holds an 8-point advantage ahead of Michael Schumacher. If the two were to finish level on points, then it would go the way of Michael Schumacher, as if Michael Schumacher does win this race, he'd be on 8 wins, if not then 7. Meanwhile, Raikkonen is winless in 2004. Truly, though, looking for a move to potentially continue that winless streak for Kimi Raikkonen. Raikkonen, of course, only with 1 career win to his name in his Formula 1 career, that coming at the inaugural Chinese Grand Prix at the Zhuhai International Circuit in 2003. He's holding off Jarno Trulli as it currently stands, who's looking fairly aggressive at this stage of the race, about a third of the way through this Grand Prix, and Michael Schumacher once again gets past Fernando Alonso as they've now caught up to the back of Ricardo Zonta. Oh, and that's Raikkonen nearly losing the rear end, going offline there to try and overtake Ricardo Zonta and nearly paying the price as such, as Jarno Trulli looking for a move up the inside at Zhongkao, unable to find his way through, as the two now manoeuvre their way around this Boots and Asia tech of Ricardo Zonta. The gap increased a little bit between the two, but that was very sketchy stuff from Kimi Raikkonen, who could have lost it all there and then, trying to lap Ricardo Zonta.
No, this battle is still going on with Ralph now up to 10th behind Takuma Sato. Sato on the brink of points. But Montoya now down the inside on the Brazilian Barrichello. Could outdrag the Ferrari. But the Ferrari pulls away because of the poor BMW power.
Yeah, BMW will be looking to bounce back with Dams as a better engine supplier, as they have massively struggled, as Jarno Trulli has taken the lead. Jarno Trulli has overtaken Kimi Raikkonen around the outside at turn 9. Raikkonen looking towards the inside at Pico de Pato and is unable to find his way through, so we've got our fourth different race leader as it currently stands. Jarno Trulli, Kimi Raikkonen, Fernando Alonso, and of course Mark Webber through the pit phase, as most of the drivers went on to dry tyres early on in this race. Schumacher there lapping Ricardo Zonta. Hello Jakob, welcome in. Watching currently Kimi Raikkonen winning the World Championship as it stands.
In the meantime, Montoya has gotten past Barrichello once again.
And Coulthard follows him through. Okay, so this could be the chance that Montoya needs to stay ahead of Barrichello, maybe even for Coulthard to pull ahead of the Colombian as well. Yes, Gallifreyan, it was announced about halfway through the season that Dams are taking the BMW Works supply from Williams. Williams will be switching to Honda supply for next season, switching to the 2005 spec engine that Honda did have built, but have scrapped for the next season, of course, because they're not running a team for next year, as there's contact between Coulthard and Montoya, the Colombian just about staying in front, though.
All this is allowing still that both Hondas are right there with them, potentially picking up the scraps if something happens. Now Barrichello looking down the inside in turn 4. David Coulthard, but Coulthard rather goes on the offense now, potentially taking the place of Juan Pablo Montoya up the hill, and does so.
No, I do not have a new mic, Dylan. Does it sound any different to what it normally does? I hadn't been aware that it sounded any different. Yes, Williams Honda back to the glory days. Of course, the last time that Honda powered Williams was in 1987, and that was the World Championship for Nelson Piquet, the third successful campaign for him, and also a Constructors' Championship for the Williams team, as well as Heidfeld and Klein continue to do battle. Coulthard then, at the end of lap 28, will be in 6th ahead of Montoya and Barrichello.
Meantime, Raikkonen keeps tabs with Trulli, as Alonso is still with Michael as well. Rubens now, audacious dive bomb there, and takes the position maybe of Pablo Montoya, but Montoya keeps it.
So, for Rubens, Barrichello is still stuck behind Juan Pablo Montoya as three, I should say, make their way around Patrick Friesacher. Well, it is confirmed that Honda will not be able to supply the team with any upgrades for next season. So whatever engine that Williams have for the start of the season, as well as Harrison Motorsport, they're running a 2004 spec engine. So this spec of engine for the team will have no upgrades throughout the season.
At least if the team doesn't do them themselves, which I greatly doubt that any of the two teams will have the funds required to upgrade the engines on their own.
Oh, shucks, guys, you're making me blush. At the front of the field, then, Kimi Raikkonen still putting pressure on Jarno Trulli after being overtaken by the Italian a couple of laps ago. Jarno Trulli has not been able to pull away from Kimi Raikkonen. Remember, though, Jarno Trulli has a 5-second time penalty for that incident earlier on with Fernando Alonso. And as such, for the championship picture, Raikkonen, as it currently stands, would take the victory ahead of Trulli.
It will be interesting to see when the lead drivers all pit, considering they have a gap to 5th place Mark Webber.
Yeah, big gap then between the top 4 and the rest of the field, as, there's Mark Webber, and Alonso now coming across the line. So the gap is about 30 or so seconds, 31 and a half seconds between the Australian and the Spaniard as it currently stands. Of course, Webber has also got a time penalty for his collision earlier on with Sperrifico that sent him outside the top 10, as Klein has once again overtaken his teammate Nick Heidfeld. The two Brabhams certainly looking very feisty with one another. I imagine that you'll be kind of pulling your hair out at this, as the two have been pretty close to each other on several occasions. And of course, Nick Heidfeld has got a reputation of running into his teammate, or his teammate running into him.
It's more Pizzonia's fault. I'm not concerned about it, really.
Furman looking for a move there on Ralf Schumacher for the final place in the top 10. The Irishman unable to find his way through. I might sound different because my throat is on the way of giving up because of the hay fever. It's making it extremely itchy.
Again.
Yes, Barrichello looking for a move on Juan Pablo Montoya. The Colombian thought he'd be done with the Brazilian in this Grand Prix. However, the straight line speed prowess of that Ferrari certainly keeping him in touching distance of that Williams. However, still stays behind.
Sperrifico has gotten past Massa once again, obviously after his spin on the courtesy of Mark Webber. Now looks to make up the lost ground.
Raikkonen keeping in second place. He probably doesn't want to go for the race lead and lose a bit of time to his teammate Michael Schumacher. Although I say that, he's going to look towards the inside at turn 6. However, by the time they reach turn 7, the second apex of the Ferragura curve, Jarno Trulli cuts that one off. And the Italian remains in the race lead as it currently stands. They are, however, about to... Oh, that's a lock-up for Raikkonen, nearly into the wall. That could have been very close and very decisive in this championship, of course, for Michael Schumacher. If Raikkonen retired just there, then it would have put Schumacher in second position, which would have put them level on points, with Schumacher taking home his record 6th title on countback of more race victories. As we were about to say, they are about to make their way to this battle for 14th position between Heidfeld, Klein, D'Amato, Villeneuve, Button and Coronel, all in a train from 14th to 19th, and the leaders are about to negotiate this in the next couple of corners.
It'll be interesting to see how quickly the leaders will dispose of the lap traffic, as Villeneuve now looks for a move there on Cristiano D'Amato. Up the hill once again, also in the foreground there. Klein looking for another move on Heidfeld once again. Coronel now gets a bit in the way of his... I don't know if Coronel stays as a test and reserve driver, but as his maybe future team partner.
No, he is confirmed to be leaving BAR at the end of the season.
Okay. Coronel still not giving way and losing himself also time to this battle in front. Finally gets out of the way. No, Trulli has to make it the hard way around the outside. Raikkonen gets chopped off. Coronel should maybe consider it as something else than just open wheel racing in general, because he quite literally lacks the professional vision there.
So Trulli has managed to extend his lead at the front of the field to 1.4 seconds ahead of Kimi Raikkonen. That kerfuffle, meanwhile, with Tom Coronel has allowed Michael Schumacher to close that gap into his teammate Kimi Raikkonen by 2 seconds on the previous lap. The gap that was around 6 to 7 seconds is now just 5 as they begin lap 33. We're heading towards half-race distance, which I imagine will be around the pit stop window for the 3 stoppers in this race.
Now on the back of Jenson Button and Jacques Villeneuve.
Villeneuve's had a really tough race so far in this Grand Prix. As, yes, like you said, Trulli getting held up quite a bit from Button. As such, Raikkonen is closing that gap in once again. So the leaders are most certainly losing considerable time, as Schumacher is soon to lap Tom Coronel, probably in a preferable place down this main straight. The German then closing up on the BAR should be able to make this move done in towards turn 1 if Coronel realises they are close enough. And does not realise they're close enough, so I think he'll be down towards turn 4, I would imagine. He'll make his way through.
Obviously loses time therefore as well. And could potentially be under threat by Fernando Alonso, as Coronel once again proves to be quite difficult to be letting somebody go.
However, the two get past Tom Coronel in towards the turn 4. And now Trulli is on the back of Jacques Villeneuve, as the two have, that being Trulli and Raikkonen, have gotten past Jenson Button. So very tentative times for both McLaren drivers, as they need to keep their car in one piece, of course, in this championship picture. Trulli gunning for the victory, but needs to pull away from Raikkonen through this traffic. The Canadian, though, not doing the Ferrari driver any favours as he looks towards the inside into Junção, and should be able to make that move. However, he's a bit loose on the rear end, and that's going to allow Raikkonen to sniff an opportunity here of potentially taking the race lead. The gap is about 2 or 3 tenths as they make their way down the main straight. However, Raikkonen not quite with the momentum that he'd like. Trulli's probably going to be able to hold on to this one as they reach turn 1. Raikkonen, though, very forceful on the brakes. Not quite close enough, even though he considerably outbraked his rival there. Staying in second place is Kimi Raikkonen.
Meantime, I think there was a call for Button to pit soon, as Raikkonen got past Trulli.
Yes, indeed. Raikkonen has just overtaken Jarno Trulli in towards turn 4 and as such retakes the race lead, all but reaffirms his chances of winning this World Championship to be even higher. At this current stage, though, it's probably going to require a mechanical failure from Kimi Raikkonen for Michael Schumacher to win this World Championship. Of course, Michael Schumacher suffered the same sort of issue that took him nearly mathematically out of contention of this championship. 8 points separate the two McLaren drivers as it currently stands, as both Jaguar drivers are into the pits at the end of this lap, as Cristiano Di Matta not doing Raikkonen any favours. Through goes Jarno Trulli back into the race lead, so two lead changes. No, Jarno's staying out. Raikkonen also stays out, so the lead switches again, as there is Michael Schumacher. A lot of the back markers are now out the way, and that's allowing just Jacques Villeneuve to sit between the two McLaren drivers.
Can see his teammate, but obviously has to pass Villeneuve first in order to get to the rear of his teammates. Now the lead pair have to get past the scrubbling Brabham cars, obviously, as well. I think that's not an easy task with them being preoccupied with each other.
So here is Jarno Trulli then on the back of Christian Klein, who's running in a decent 15th place in this Grand Prix so far. He's going to have to cede this position to Jarno Trulli sooner rather than later. And there goes the Ferrari driver up the inside at Junção. Similar how he did with Jacques Villeneuve, and he should be able to make that place on the exit of the corner. He does. Raikkonen will follow him through, however, just a couple of tenths behind. There is Michael Schumacher, meanwhile. He's not yet caught up to the back of Jacques Villeneuve, as there's now 2 lap cars in between him and his teammate.
Villeneuve seemingly matching the pace, but Michael sets the fastest lap.
Yes, Sampas. Trulli did indeed get a time penalty of 5 seconds for that collision with Fernando Alonso earlier on, and the other penalty going the way of Mark Webber, who's being reeled in by David Coulthard. He received a 10-second time penalty for a collision with Riccardo Sperrifico. Still may end up in the points by the end of this Grand Prix.
Now Michael and Alonso are stuck behind the 1997 world champion, but at the front Heidfeld is lapping Friesacker, but is getting lapped himself, so that's now giving the leaders a headache as well.
Yeah, Friesacker here adding a little extra spice into the mix here as Trulli struggles to get past Heidfeld. Heidfeld gets past Friesacker, and now Trulli's got to get past Friesacker first as the two Jaguars swap positions following their pit stop. Raikkonen, though, with the advantage as they head down the main straight. Raikkonen nearly put in the wall there by Friesacker. Very close calls there between the Boutsen and the McLaren as the two now make their way past the rest of the lap traffic. Still Heidfeld to get past, of course, as now Michael Schumacher on the back of the Boutsen. That was very close stuff between the Finn and the Austrian driver, as that could have been curtains for Kimi Raikkonen's championship.
But also being curtains for any activity in terms of racing if that was at that speed an incident.
We'll get a replay of that one then. So on the exit of Junção, Trulli went right, Raikkonen went left, and Friesacker didn't see him, very nearly put him on the curb, and that could have been crucial, especially since it was raining before the race started. Of course, the curbs would have been pretty slippery if Raikkonen was put onto them, but he's been able to scrape away with his track position of second place still in this race, as Alonso kind of getting submerged in the traffic with Jacques Villeneuve and Patrick Friesacker, but makes his way through and now sits about a second behind Michael Schumacher. Where's the Eurobook logo?
That's a good question. Where is it?
It was left at home.
Sperrifico now boxing from 10th position. There's still spray on the outside of the corners, so temperature's not rising that quickly that the spray gets, or the remaining water gets evaporated.
I was also engrossed in the racing. I've not even realised for
The fastest lap of the race.
Yeah.
what is that? 2.5 hours that the Eurobook logo was not there. Well done, mate. So, lap 39 of 71, and this is your race order. Jarno Trulli, with a 5-second time penalty, leads this race, ahead of Kimi Raikkonen, who, as it currently mathematically stands, will win the Drivers' Championship ahead of Michael Schumacher. Fernando Alonso runs in 4th, as Mark Webber pits on the end of lap 38 for his second pit stop of the Grand Prix. The former race leader still could be on course for his points, for a points finish in his final Grand Prix for Red Bull, as he's followed into the pits by Riccardo Sperrafico.
Depends really if he keeps a 10-second gap to 9th place in this race, which would currently be, after the pit stops, Ralf Schumacher, I think. So potentially another point for Honda on their final outing.
Kimi Raikkonen has just put up the fastest lap of the race.
Ralf is now pitting at the end of this lap. Raikkonen sets another fastest lap of this race.
He does indeed, as Takuma Sato trying to get past Ralph Furman here. He's just been overtaken by the Dams driver, I believe. Ralf Schumacher now up into the points, as Honda are ready to serve Ralf Schumacher at the end of this lap. So Ralf Schumacher will fall outside of the points positions, as we're seeing the first of the scheduled stops in this Grand Prix. Felipe Massa will also follow him into the box.
Running 5th is right in front of you. You're running 6th.
Barrichello
this
really
battle
giving it
still-
his all.
Still, this battle goes on.
Barrichello with a bit of a run here on Juan Pablo Montoya as they head in towards turn 4. Looking towards the inside is Barrichello, but Montoya gives him the big old squeeze onto the curb on the inside of the corner. The Williams driver just about staying in front, but Barrichello probably will be pretty unfazed by that. But Montoya holds onto it, defending the inside in towards the Ferraggiora, and Barrichello with no clear way through. Raikkonen went for a move in towards turn 1, unable to find his way ahead of Jarno Trulli, but he could have a run here in towards turn 4. He was in the slipstream, now catapulting his way up the inside, not quite finding his way through, as there is Michael Schumacher just in the background. When will Eurobook air the 2005 season after this? It'll probably be a couple weeks, I would imagine, because there's a lot of databasing and a lot of admin to do before 05. Would I do a season review for 04? I don't know. I don't think so. Not entirely sure, because I don't have the streams saved. I'd have to record them. I might do like a career review, like a whole thing review, potentially, like a history thing, so people catch up. I did like that idea, but it's going to be a lot of effort to actually make, and I've also got to make this series, keep it up to date, and also do the 94 series as Raikkonen
into pits.
Raikkonen into the pits then with 30 laps to go in this Grand Prix.
Yes,
that's going to release
could
Michael
be
Schumacher to be in
crucial.
front of him. And of course, with Schumacher bearing down on Jarno Trulli, is likely to lead this Grand Prix. Raikkonen, though, pitting first out of the two McLaren drivers. Interesting to see then, as Michael Schumacher with a little bit of advantage in terms of pace over his teammate Kimi Raikkonen. Most crucially, though, for the Finn, he's going to rejoin in 4th position, which, regardless of where Michael Schumacher finishes, would still allow him to win the Drivers' World Championship.
Bootson Energy
Obviously,
Racing.
with the top 4 having that massive of a gap to David Coulthard behind, as I think Furman got spun around there by the lap traffic. or Takuma Sato. But anyway, Sato up into 8th position.
And the Irishman then shuffled down outside of the points. We'll get a replay of that to see what's happened between Takuma Sato and Ralph Furman.
Maybe an over-opportunistic move there by the Japanese driver, and it definitely looks like it, similar to Jarno Trulli and Alonso, way far behind. There we go, somewhat English.
A day late and $1 short there for Takuma Sato, who's going to land him a 5-second time penalty in his final race for Honda, as Barrichello's looking for a move on Juan Pablo Montoya again in towards turn 4.
Trulli now with the fastest lap. I expect Trulli to pit soon as well, considering he kept tabs with Raikkonen all stint long.
Here is the two Brazilians then of Speraffico and Felipe Massa, both looking forward to greater things in 2005 as Speraffico stays with Toyota for the following season. Meanwhile, the Red Bull driver will move to the Scuderia Ferrari team alongside Rubens Barrichello for the following season. And of course, depending on how competitive the Ferrari is next season, could land in potentially getting his first victory in Formula 1, as here is one of the victors of Formula 1 in this season, Rubens Barrichello. The Bahrain Grand Prix was won by him in pretty fortuitous circumstances. He's unable to get past Montoya as Jenson Button's torrid season is summed up by an engine failure towards the back of the field for Jenson Button, and I imagine he'll not be waiting long to get on that plane to the Williams HQ and get 2005 underway. Button then another retirement in this Grand Prix. We're up to 6 retirements in this one. And of course, Jaguar themselves will have a lot of work to do into next season. It's been arguably by far and away their worst season in Formula 1, despite scoring a podium this year. They have massively struggled. They've scored a podium actually in every single season that they have competed in Formula 1, which is quite impressive considering the lack of pace that they have had this season. But it was secured by Jenson Button fairly early on this season at the Monaco Grand Prix.
Now Michael is stuck there behind. I think that's Mark Webber. Yeah, it is. So be careful, Michael. This car's getting loose constantly. But this battle is currently the only real interesting thing in terms of actual positions.
Yeah, Barrichello still unable to get past Juan Pablo Montoya. He's going to look for another move up the inside, but Montoya's afforded him a bit more space as they head through turn 5. Barrichello still alongside Juan Pablo Montoya. Maybe he can switch towards the inside of the Ferradura curve. He's not going to go for it. Montoya left him the space as well, and Montoya will surprisingly hold on to that position ahead of the Brazilian.
Pretty much summarizes Barrichello's season with him being indecisive of actually going for a move, as Furman has gotten past Sato once again for 8th.
Did BAR score a podium in 2002? I'm not entirely sure. I think that
so.
If they didn't, then yeah, that means that
I can have a look.
02 is the only season that BAR didn't score a podium. And that's another mechanical failure. The promising debut there of Christian Klein, as I heard something get knocked over by Nils. Ends up with an engine failure. A strong debut race, though, for Christian Klein. He should be holding his head up high in towards 2005.
At least he didn't crash into anything.
Did you throw something?
No, I smacked my shell. Anyway, the best finish of Ralf Schumacher in the 2002 season was at 4th place. No podium for BAR Lamborghini in that season.
Okay, so 2002 was the only season that BAR didn't score a podium, as Barrichello has got, actually, we've missed it, he's gotten past Juan Pablo Montoya. No, he hasn't, because he's spun round, because he's trying to get a move done on David Coulthard there. And too little too late there for Rubens Barrichello. Is going to shuffle him way down the order and potentially under threat from Ralph Furman behind. And this has got to be a pretty poor display here for what is currently the lead Brazilian in this race.
See them now closer to the battle between Furman and Sato rather than the pointy end of the points paying positions. Spirifrico now has gotten past Heidfeld. Coronel getting the call that the clouds are not gathering yet. Potentially more rain.
We're going to replay that as well. So here was Barrichello looking up the inside. Goes for a late lunge there on David Coulthard. Yeah, no chance. And Barrichello coming off the worst there. Very lucky indeed for Coulthard.
How Coulthard kept that car pointing in the right direction is quite considerable effort. Also showing off his immense talent behind the wheel.
Here is Felipe Massa then. He's not had a brilliant home Grand Prix here today. He's been second best to his teammate Mark Webber. But this is his final race for Red Bull before he moves over to Ferrari, and Nick Heidfeld is in his sights for 13th position in this race. The German defending that position in towards the first corner, however.
Massa nearly lost the car once again over the bumps.
No, Rubens is staying at Ferrari. Sorry to interrupt there. It's Rubens Barrichello and Felipe Massa. Jarno Trulli's moving to BAR for next season.
Quite shocking actually that Ferrari didn't try to pursue keeping Trulli on and sacking Rubens off, considering his performances this season.
Massa going for a move there in towards turn 9. Turn 8, sorry. He's going to switch towards the outside for turn 9, but Heidfeld with the faster run through the corner is going to be able to hold on to that position only just. As Renault already into the pits, that has got to be for Fernando Alonso. So Alonso is going to be into the pits at the end of this lap. So Schumacher and Trulli both still out there on circuit, which is surprising considering those two are probably the fastest ones out there on circuit right now. So Alonso into the box.
Alonso has maybe got the gap to challenge Raikkonen at the end of the pit lane.
There just needs to be a fast stop from the Renault crew if they want to beat Raikkonen out the pits. A 9-second stop is not going to be great. There's Raikkonen lapping Jacques Villeneuve, coming down the main straight now. Alonso not quite at pit exit, and I think Raikkonen has done enough here to rejoin ahead of Fernando Alonso. Yep, there's a Spaniard now, only just coming out the pits. You can just see the top of the McLaren there over the pit wall. And Raikkonen will be ahead of Fernando Alonso. Alonso rejoining in 4th. Comfortably still ahead, though, of David Coulthard.
Tom Coronel is making a pit stop, probably his final, at least planned final stop in his Formula 1 career.
Heidfeld's dropped massively back from Felipe Massa there. There could have potentially been an incident between the two, as we will get a replay on that one. Heidfeld went for a move on Riccardo Sperafico in the Toyota in towards turn 4, nearly fell foul. Yeah, and Heidfeld's just not alongside Sperafico there. And he's going to lose that place. So Massa gains a position from that. The German is kind of unravelling for Brabham in this race. As Nick Heidfeld, the sole remaining Brabham in this race, is now down to 14th in this Grand Prix.
At the front though, Trulli has gotten the gap required to stay at the lead. Michael's 6.3 seconds behind is actually lapping 7/10 quicker than the 5-time world champion.
Most crucially for the pair of them, though, they're lapping well clear of Kimi Raikkonen's times, who's in the 1 minute 17. Scratch that, he's on the 1 minute 15. So he's still slower, but about half a second so. As BAR ready in the pits, I assume that is for David Coulthard at the end of lap 48. And it's for Coronel, sorry. Sato's going to be into the box, though, at the end of this lap. He's been putting decent pressure here on Ralph Furman. He's wanting his first points finish of the season here. He's unable to get close enough. I think Takuma Sato's only point in Formula 1 also came at the Brazilian Grand Prix last year. I can't exactly remember off the top of my head, but he only scored 1 point last season.
Australia.
Australia, okay.
Long stop. We'll see him to the end of this race.
Schumacher and Trulli going very long in this first, in the second stint, I should say, as the whole grid was on the intermediates at the start of the race. As Ralph Furman is scheduled to box fairly shortly. Massa, meanwhile, has made the move on Riccardo Speraffico. The Toyota driver could have a glancing look up the inside in towards turn 4 if he can pick up a nice enough slipstream. And he's not close enough to do so. So Speraffico will have to relinquish that position to his fellow countryman.
Though, putting the pressure on Mark Webber. Obviously, Webber, though, with the 10-second time penalty, would see Ralph ahead of the Australian regardless.
Ralf Schumacher was also able to gain a place from Mark Webber's penalties last race in the Japanese Grand Prix, where he finished in the points at Honda's final home race for the foreseeable future. Ralf Schumacher again gunning for a potential top 8 in what could potentially be a 4th straight points finish. Or 3rd. I think it might be 3rd, actually.
Where is he? Honda. Well, he DNF'd in China.
Oh, okay, never mind. It would be his 4th points finish in 6 races, I think. Something like that, then.
5 races, actually.
5 races, okay. So it's been a very good season, or the second half of the season at least, for the Honda driver, as Barrichello is scheduled to box at the end of this lap, which is going to put him well and truly outside the points here following this pit stop, under pressure potentially from Mark Webber. So we'll see what the state of play is going to be for the Brazilian.
Line comes pretty early regarding the actual pit lights, signaling the pit lane entry. Catches out some drivers.
Barrichello then serviced by his Ferrari pit crew at the end of the pit lane. And where will he resume this Grand Prix in comparison to Mark Webber? It seems that he's going to get the jump on the Australian. A 9-second stop is good enough to fetch him out ahead of the Red Bull. Heidfeld, meanwhile, is into the pits at the end of this lap as well.
It'll be interesting to see if Barrichello, though, gets under pressure from Webber. Obviously, Webber and Ralph on lighter fuel loads compared to the Brazilian. Could see the Brazilian actually lose time compared to Montoya and Coulthard further, as now Trulli has lapped up to Ralph Furman.
Dams Lola.
As he's into the box at the end of this lap for what could potentially be his final pit stop for the Dams team in his Formula 1 career. Jarno Trulli, meanwhile, and Michael Schumacher, I should say, have both been putting huge gains on the rest of the field. Raikkonen not with any response really in terms of pace since his stop on lap 43.
As it currently stands, Michael actually gets the jump now on Raikkonen, considering the pit lane is you lose around 27 seconds during the pit stop.
And Schumacher doing all that he can at this current stage of the race. It would not be enough regardless of where he finished if it stayed as it was, whether it was first or second position, as Raikkonen would be able to withstand that 8-point gap between the two. It'd be reduced to 6, or if Michael Schumacher won this race, 4 points. So the only thing he's probably hoping for in these last 18 laps of the Grand Prix is a retirement from his Finnish teammate. We have seen, though, that McLaren's reliability has not been perfect this season. Many times, more often than not, on the side of Michael Schumacher's garage, it has come true that race finishes have been hard to come by. But for Raikkonen and Michael Schumacher, with 18 laps to go, they are both still in this Grand Prix.
And at the current stage, Raikkonen would be the first and only driver to win the championship without winning a race. Which is probably more impressive than winning the championship with 8 victories if Michael somehow manages to get ahead of Jarno Trulli.
Of course, this new point system fetched in for the 2002 season, where 10 points is given to the winner, 8 to second place, 6 for third, and then 5 for fourth place, and then down to 4, 3, 2, 1, down to 8th position. So a lot of points are given out more for consistency rather than outright pace, which Raikkonen has definitely taken advantage of in this season. Of course, this point system has also fetched us the great title battle that was of last season into the final race of the Japanese Grand Prix, in which we saw Jarno Trulli, Michael Schumacher, Ralf Schumacher and Alexander Wurz all take their championship hopes to the final round of the season, in which it was won by the Ferrari of Ralf Schumacher before his move to Honda.
I was about to say somebody had an engine failure, but it was Bullion just being confirmed that he's finally out. Trulli sets another fastest lap.
A 14.3 now for the Italian, as is really putting Michael Schumacher under quite a bit of pressure here. If he wants to take this race win, Michael Schumacher, that he's got to go and find an extra gear in this Grand Prix, because 16 laps to go and 10 seconds adrift is almost unsurmountable at this current stage of the Grand Prix. We'll imagine, though, that Trulli and Schumacher will both be into the box at some point in the next few laps. Webber, though, into the box for what I believe is his third stop in this Grand Prix, as Ralf Furman is now on the back of both. No, that's Coronel a lap down, on the back of Ralf Schumacher.
Ralf, though, stuck behind Coronel, Coronel has been proven to be difficult to lap. Furman, though, sneaks by quite easily. In the background there, Raikkonen closing in on this whole bunch of cars as well, now stuck behind, I think, Sparrow-Fico it is. Sato also manages or tries to get through on Coronel, and McLaren is ready in the pits.
We expected pit stops fairly shortly from the race leaders, and I imagine Jarno Trulli will also be into the box fairly shortly. This has been a 50-lap stint from Michael Schumacher. Honourable here, despite the poor tyre wear that I imagine he's on right now. Would be pretty pleased to rejoin ahead of his teammate Kimi Raikkonen. Of course, will not do anything in terms of his championship picture, but he should rejoin here in second position unless this is a poor stop from the Silver Arrows. And it's an 8.4 second stop. It should be fairly comfortably clear of Kimi Raikkonen, who's only now exiting Junção.
Who's obviously stuck in this traffic, with Coronel once again proving stupid while letting drivers go.
Sparrow-Fico just unlapped himself on Kimi Raikkonen.
Coronel should be getting his super license revoked after doing this for the whole race.
Raikkonen told to box at the end of this lap. So this could complicate things. If this is a poor stop for Raikkonen, he could end up potentially out of the lead lap even of this Grand Prix. 15 laps to go. And Jarno Trulli leads by about 35 seconds. I imagine he'll be soon to box in this race, as I imagine he would not be able to do 66 laps on a full tank of fuel around this circuit. And there you go, he's into the pits fairly shortly. Raikkonen, though, is also scheduled to stop. Do both Nils and Jaden share the same viewpoint? In what sense, Derbysaw? So McLaren are ready in the pits. I think that'll be for Kimi Raikkonen. It is for Kimi Raikkonen. He's into the box for the third time in this Grand Prix. Could be potentially his last pit stop before he is a Formula 1 world champion, but there is still 14 tours of this Interlagos circuit to go.
Are we ready in the pits? That is for Jarno Trulli, so Raikkonen is not getting lapped.
Yes,
Oh
we do
yeah, we
watch this.
share this. Yeah, I'm getting that stream from Jaden.
Yeah.
Live updates and so on.
Coulthard's rejoined ahead of Raikkonen. That could be crucial potentially if Raikkonen loses 4 more places. In fact, he would lose this championship, but he has served what should be his last pit stop of the Grand Prix as Jarno Trulli is into the box.
Straightforward pit stop for Ferrari. Nothing really to lose for them.
And it's a fairly simple pit stop. And Jarno Trulli will rejoin comfortably in the race lead. Schumacher only now making his way through the first corner. Trulli has done a good job here of overcutting Michael Schumacher and should be on course for another victory in the Scarlet Red of Ferrari before he moves to BAR Audi for 2005. Speaking of BAR Audi, one of them is into the pits. That should be for David Coulthard, who's currently running up in 4th position in this Grand Prix. Yes, he is in. So the 2000 world champion making his way into the stop. That's going to promote Raikkonen up to 4th position.
Now will be interesting to see when... Oh, well, never mind. Who's quicker between Williams and BAR? Montoya now stopping as well. Coulthard on the way on 8.7 seconds. Montoya way longer, 9.2.
So it'll remain as it was between Coulthard and Montoya, with the Briton remaining ahead of the Colombian. Ralf Schumacher should have no bearing effect on those two's rejoined position either, as Coulthard will rejoin in 5th and Montoya in 6th. Meanwhile, Sato has just overtaken Ralf Furman through Zhongkao. The Dams Lola driver, not wanting to let this one line down, will be gunning 4 points in his final race for the French outfit as he looks towards the inside of the Japanese driver, unable to find his way through. Sato, in turn, will be looking for his first points of the season as he has struggled immensely in his first 2 seasons in Formula 1. Only 1 point collected by him in comparison. His teammates, both Heinz-Harald Frentzen in 03 and Ralf Schumacher, in 04, as Ralf Furman remains side by side with him through the Ferragura curve. There's contact between the two, but Sato will remain ahead. Sato has scored 1 point in his first 2 seasons. Meanwhile, his teammates of Frentzen and Ralf Schumacher have scored a collective of 27, which is very clearly not good viewing.
Hunter now into the pits for his final stop of this season, if everything goes to plan. Also probably his final Brazilian Grand Prix, seeing as he's not confirmed to be in any team at the current stage.
The two Bootsons will be fairly close on the track rejoin, as that is an Agertech that's looking to expire in the back of Patrick Friesacher's car. The Austrian on course for a retirement in his final race for Boutsen Energy Racing. Williams are ready into the pits for the... It could be either one of the Williams, not entirely sure which one it's going to be, but Friesacher, who's just had his teammate rejoin just behind him, will be due to retire within the next couple of laps, which is a shame, as Jacques Villeneuve is the one into the box. The Canadian has had a fairly anonymous Grand Prix in this season finale.
I mean, after his podium last time round, he can have an anonymous Grand Prix essentially.
Oh, was that... no, sorry, I thought that was Trulli. Oh my god, what am I doing? Sorry guys, that's Friesacher. I was... dear me. I thought, yeah.
Championship implications for a second word thought about.
my heart went through my chest then. Dear me.
I mean, we would still need Raikkonen retirement at the current stage of this race.
Why did I think that was Trulli? It's like 15 seconds in the lead.
Ralph into the pits from 7th. Drops. Puts Sato into the points. And Sato's close to Barrichello. Barrichello in this final stint has no pace.
No pacey from Rubens Barrichello in this with 10 laps to go. Ralph Furman still looking to try and find his way up into 8th position. He's barged Sato out the way there. Honda will claim that that was an illegal move from Ralph Furman, but the Dams crew will suggest that he did give him the racing room on the outside of the corner and Sato squeezed him just a little bit too much. Either way, Furman is up into 8th position.
Jaguar ready in the pits. That will be for Damata. And
there he goes.
Frisaka's engine.
Frisaka's final race for Boots and Energy Racing ends in a plume of smoke at the side of the track at turn 10, and he becomes the 8th retirement, of the Brazilian Grand Prix. 18 drivers remain in this one. Trulli leads with 10 laps to go. Michael Schumacher, try as he might, he's in 2nd position, beating his teammate Kimi Raikkonen, but it would not be enough. The gap would be reduced to 5 points between Michael Schumacher and Kimi Raikkonen. Alonso separates the two, with Raikkonen down in 4th. Coulthard, Montoya, Barrichello and Ralph Furman completing the points, although the Irishman is looking to find his way up into 7th position in this race. And the stewards have declared that there's no penalty coming the way of Ralph Furman for that overtake for on Takuma Sato.
Would have been fair scraps done between Furman and Sato if Furman would have gotten a penalty for that collision as well, considering Sato has a 5-second time penalty after his incident with Furman early on in this race. But Barrichello still doesn't find any pace in that Ferrari, now under pressure from Furman.
Yeah, the Brazilian really struggling in that Ferrari as it currently stands, with his teammates comfortably leading out front and his teammates more than a lap behind. This is once again proof in the pudding that Barrichello could be the sticking point at Ferrari.
As Furman around the outsides.
Furman overtakes Rubens Barrichello to move up into 7th position in this race and may even fall out of the points on track at least, as here comes Takuma Sato looking for a move in the Honda, unable to close in to the back of Rubens Barrichello though, as he now falls down to 8th position in this race.
Jeffrey, you get 5 points with DC on... Oh no, never mind,
No.
Raikkonen is 4th. Never mind, yep. My mistake. I'm greatly mistaken.
Speaking of David Coulthard, he's about to get lapped by Jarno Trulli.
Barrichello's out!
And his poor race in this Grand Prix comes to an abrupt halt, as that is engine failure for the Ferrari. It does indeed. His teammate Ralf Schumacher moves up to 9th, and Barrichello, the first of the 2 Ferraris to retire of this Grand Prix. And it really just sums up Barrichello's season as a whole. He has been consistently in the lower points, but more often than not, he's really just found himself in lucky positions to get high results, such as the Bahrain Grand Prix.
And crucially, it's the wrong Ferrari in terms of the championship positions, with Trulli still going strong.
If Trulli were to retire from this Grand Prix, would close the gap between Michael Schumacher and Raikkonen, but only to 4 points. So Raikkonen would still take the championship crown as we head into the final knockings of this Grand Prix. Here is Jarno Trulli lapping Nick Heidfeld for the 2nd time in this race.
Coulthard now set to lap Heidfeld as well.
No real battles happening on track right now as we head into the final 7 or so laps of this race. Sato trying to put pressure on Ralph Furman, but it seems that the Irishman just got the legs to pull away from the Honda a little bit. Yeah, the gap, the last lap actually was around a second between the two, although I do think there was a bit of lap traffic between the two, so it'll be interesting to see if Sato can hold on to this point. Of course, his teammate is well over 5 seconds behind at this point, but a mistake from Sato would introduce the reigning world champion into potentially stealing the final point from his teammate.
The race definitely has died down now with Barrichello having that engine failure. Probably is the result why he was so slow in the final stages of this race for him. But Ralf Schumacher has made up 13 positions overall in this race. Great climb by the, outgoing world champion.
I'd say still, though, Sato has probably been up there as possibly my contender for driver of the day. He's outperformed his teammate Ralf Schumacher through and through in this weekend. Not many times that we've seen that this season, but Sato really putting on a strong performance and could be on course for his second points finish of his Formula 1 career.
I would probably give the driver of the day to Trulli, seeing how composed he is, even though with the 5-second time penalty. He definitely dominated this race after the early stint in the intermediate phase.
I'd say a good shout out as well to the drivers that have come in for their first races of the season. Klein and Karthikeyan both put on solid performances versus their teammates, especially Christian Klein, who was running at parts ahead of his teammate Nick Heidfeld before his engine failure about 20 or so laps ago.
Now Alonso stuck behind Ricardo Sonta, could close the gap for Raikkonen, but Raikkonen obviously is 11 seconds nearly behind the Spaniard. For a second there was smoke coming out of the second Boutsen car, but that was just spray being kicked off. Sato has closed the gap.
He has indeed closed the gap to Ralf Furman in front. The battle for 7th may not be over just yet on track. Remember that Sato does have a 5-second time penalty to serve at the end of this Grand Prix for contact with said Ralf Furman, as Jarno Trulli sets yet another fastest lap of the race. 5 laps to go, and it's currently 5 laps away from crowning Kimi Raikkonen as the drivers' champion of 2004. Schumacher has tried absolutely everything in his power to take this for himself, but is unable to. And for the first time since the Australian Grand Prix this season, Schumacher is on course to not win a race when he's been in the Grand Prix.
Just that statement alone will explode his engine pretty soon. To keep that stat up.
Sato, though, not really fast enough down the straights to really perform any sort of move in either of the first or third sectors. However, the second sector is really where the Japanese driver is shining versus Ralf Furman just in front. The Honda really putting the dams through its paces. You can see how much time that the Japanese driver is gaining through turns 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 and 11. But the time they reached Zhongtao...
Thought for a second it would have said Jarno Trulli has smoke coming from his engine, but he's setting another fastest lap. But obviously still 5th, ahead of Juan Pablo Montoya. Once again, Sato looking for a move there.
And of course, never say never in the world of Formula 1. The late, great Murray Walker has previously said that anything can happen in Formula 1, and it usually does. So we're waiting for Kimi Raikkonen to cross the line to announce himself as the 2004 Formula 1 World Champion, not winning a single Grand Prix in over a calendar year. The 2003 Chinese Grand Prix was the last time that he won a race.
I'm pretty certain he's also the youngest World Champion.
He is currently... as of right now, he is 25 years of age, Kimi Raikkonen, joining McLaren in 2003 after securing 1.5 seasons, we'll call it, with Sauber. He had a shared seat drive in Sauber for 2001, where that ended up with 0 points to his name with a fairly uncompetitive car. 2002 was a giant leap forward for Sauber, paired alongside Ricardo Zonta. He got his first podium, but that wasn't before his first ever pole position in Formula 1 at the 2002 Spanish Grand Prix. Interchangeable conditions in qualifying saw the top three be Raikkonen, Irvine and Pantano, the two Jaguars just behind the Sauber. However, Raikkonen did stall on the grid. Fittipaldi was 24, was he? Okay, so he'd be the youngest world champion since...
No, Fittipaldi was not 24 years old. He was 25 years old in 273 days. I just looked it up. Raikkonen would take it because he just turned 25 2 weeks ago.
Okay, so there you go. Raikkonen got the pole position, as I said, in Spain, however stalled on the grid and was left to lick his wounds, as what could have been in that race in the chaotic wet conditions that was that Grand Prix. He then scored another pole position in the Hungarian Grand Prix and was able to convert it into his first points finish in Formula 1, where he finished in second position behind fellow Finn that's who we're looking on board with, Mika Hakkinen, who won that race. Mika Hakkinen retired at the end of that season, and as such, the seat went to the man we're currently looking at the start of 03. Played second fiddle to Michael Schumacher for the majority of the season, and then eventually took his first race victory in the Chinese Grand Prix at the Zhuhai International Circuit, and that has led us onto this season. Relentless consistency from Kimi Raikkonen has put him in this position to take his first ever World Championship without winning a race in 2004. Michael Schumacher, one of the greatest, if not the greatest, to ever grace Formula 1, has been beset with mechanical issue after mechanical issue, but at the end of the day, it's all down to the consistency that wins you titles, and Kimi Raikkonen has certainly had that in abundance in 2004. Jarno Trulli now begins the final lap of the race.
I'm pretty certain Raikkonen has lapped up to Coulthard as well, or was pretty close to lapping up to Coulthard at one stage, as Jarno Trulli is given the driver of the day ahead of Michael Schumacher and Ralf Schumacher. So I'm pretty certain if anything happens to Raikkonen, he will still win the championship now.
I think if he crosses the line, then he most certainly will be the Formula 1 World Champion, unless there is some post-race scrutineering involved for the McLaren driver. And I will in fact do that on stream, because, you know, I don't want to leave people in the dark about that.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I'll do that. I'll do that on stream today. But for Jarno Trulli, he was battling pretty aggressively with Kimi Raikkonen and Fernando Alonso at the start. The two of the Spaniard and the Finn have eventually ceded that position. Michael Schumacher tried to come close to Jarno Trulli, but it's been nowhere close in this final stint, as Trulli will make his way up towards the line. His final race in Ferrari, who will bow out with victory as the Italian makes his way up towards the line and secures victory of the 2004 Brazilian Grand Prix.
Michael Schumacher did everything he possibly could do, but will finish second. Still a decent result for him, but it's not enough to win the championship. Coulthard has crossed the line, therefore Kimi Raikkonen is indeed the 2004 world champion.
Michael Schumacher across the line in second position. Coulthard fifth, Montoya sixth, Furman and Sato should be able to complete the points. Ralf Schumacher has actually got fairly close to Takuma Sato, so that might come down to the wire in the final knockings of this lap. But Fernando Alonso will complete the podium in third position. And here is your 2004 world champion then on the lead lap. And across the line in fourth position, Kimi Raikkonen is your 2004 champion of the world. A fantastic season between the two Silver Arrows has gone the way of Finland, the second ever Finnish Formula 1 world champion behind Keke Rosberg. And Raikkonen has claimed it in spectacular fashion. 0 victories this season, but 1 world championship. McLaren as well last race, securing the Constructors' Championship, as Coulthard, Montoya, Furman and Sato, I believe, should have done. Yes, he has completed the points just ahead of his teammate Ralf Schumacher. Massa completing the top 10 ahead of his teammate Webber. He had a 10-second time penalty, so don't forget about that. So Sperrifico finishes ahead of the Australian. Then comes Heidfeld, Villeneuve, D'Amata, Coronel and Zonta. We had 9 retirements from this race with Barrichello, Friesacker, Klein, Button, Karthikeyan, Glock, Takagi, De La Rosa and Jean-Christophe Bouillon was the first of the retirements, but it is Kimi Raikkonen, your 2004 world champion.
KK won one race, I think.
Yes, he did.
In 82.
So your thoughts on that championship as a whole, Nils?
I mean, the quickest driver didn't win the championship, but the most clever one and probably the most consistent one won it, so Raikkonen definitely deserve a champion. Raikkonen would have also been a deserved champion considering his immense pace, only finishing off of P1 once, that being now this race. But
Australia as well was also one.
Oh yeah, but definitely goes the way of the consistent and therefore also deserving champion. Any champion is essentially deserving at the end.
So, without further ado, you'll all figure out, because a lot of you are probably wondering, how do I do the scrutineering? Well, you'll figure it out right now. Let me do that. So let me remove the drivers who failed to finish, that being Barrichello, both Williams, Bouillon retired, Button retired.
Coronel did finish.
Yep. Toyota, Takagi didn't, so you out. Karthikeyan
didn't.
Out. Massa, Webber, those two out. Those two out.
Glock and De La Rosa out. Pitsonia out.
And Friesacker out. So that should leave us with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 drivers. Yes. So here we go. The drivers being scrutinised today are
Sperrifico.
Riccardo Sperrifico, who finished in 11th place, being promoted a position following Mark Webber's penalty. Could have potentially scored points today if it wasn't for that incident with the Australian. Takuma Sato, who scored his first points of the season in 8th place. And finally, Felipe Massa. Raikkonen is your 2004 world champion then. And we will now do this. So first of all is... Who was it? Sperrifico, yeah. Sato and Massa. Sato gets his first points of the season.
And Massa is
safe. So, that is going to fetch an end to this Brazilian Grand Prix and the 2004 season as a whole. I'd like to thank everyone who has joined us this season, and I hope to fetch you the 2005 season fairly shortly. I'll probably put this on hold for a little bit because I want to get the 94 season out the way as well with all the videos and stuff like that. So that'll probably all come first. Then we'll have 2005 and 1995 in tandem with each other, hopefully. But yeah, I'd like to say thank you to everyone who has liked the streams, subscribed to the channel, and watched along the way for all of the 18 rounds with us this season, all of the GP2 rounds, the F3 Euro Series rounds, and the Ligier streams and the Super Truck streams. Maybe A1GP coming fairly shortly. Be sure to join the Discord as well, which is linked in the description as well, as we're closing in on 200 members for that as well. But yeah, like I say, thank you to everyone who has joined us today through all the streams, and thank you to all the co-commentators, including Nils today. And that is going to mark the end of 2004. Goodbye.